Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
Hello. How's it going? Sorry, I had a couple of switches there to go. Wait. What's this?
Hold on. Where do you think you're going?
Yeah, I thought we could come in if that's okay.
I don't know if I have you on my list. What's your name?
Dave.
Dave. No Daves.
Jake.
Jake? Nope. No Jake.
Dave Taylor. Jake Krajewski. Oz.
Jake. I got a Chris Peach. Don Serrato's. I've got Matters Miniatures. No Dave and Jake.
How about BuildPaintPlay?
Oh, BuildPaintPlay? Oh, yeah, come on in.
Man, I didn't realize Phil was so tall. What are you talking about?
The Army Painter Factory team just got more factory. That's right, we're recruiting people of all shapes and sizes, no matter how big, how small, how tall, or short. Join us in welcoming Oz and Dave Taylor from the Build, Paint, Play podcast.
And woo! Oh, I still have you muted. I can't believe I did that. There we go.
That's pretty cool, man. I like that they chopped that all up, and you're right. He put some music under it. Dude, Phil's the best too. I'm glad Phil was there, and you know, we got to give Uncle Adam a shout out too, because we couldn't have done it without them. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool. That was a lot of fun.
So yes, Jake and I've been waiting for a few weeks now.
It's been longer than a few weeks.
It feels like it's been longer than a few weeks. But we filmed that at AdeptiCon, and it was finally all sliced together by the wonderful team at the Army Painter. So yeah, now we can say we are members of the Army Painter Factory team, and I'm going to do a fun switch. Yeah. So wait for it. Watch it. Woohoo!
Oh, very nice.
We now have the Army Painter Factory team logo. I also happen to be wearing my Army Painter Factory team shirt.
Yeah, mine are in the mail somewhere, but
treats are in the mail. Yep. So super excited about that. Hooray! So we'll say hi to everybody. We've got Luis in the chat saying that he's ready with the rules and the data like a college student facing finals for his first combat patrol game.
Yep.
Excellent. Dave Hummel is with us saying evening all. Mark Maxey is here. Hello, Mark. Yes, Dave. I was worried when I was typing. Fingers crossed we won't have any technical difficulties. And of course I did jinx myself. Jonathan Palomo says, hi, gentlemen. Happy to see you. We'll be playing some Judgment Eternal Champions later tonight. Very excited.
Nice. Okay.
Every mini available with the game. It's an instant purchase for sure. Sean Gleason has joined us. Fantastic. Corey is here. Corey is here with us. Fantastic. Hello, Corey.
What's going on, Corey?
So we'll save that announcement for next week.
Yeah, sure. We can do that. We'll do that one next week.
Announcement next week. One announcement at a time.
That's right.
We've made some more steps towards making that happen today. So excited about that. Awesome. Whew.
That was pretty cool. So for anybody who wants to like hear like how that goes on behind the scenes, so we were asked about this. We were asked about this a couple months ago, and we kind of then did a little back and forth, like, oh, what would that look like? And Dave and I were really excited about it, but part of our brand is like Dave and I are a couple of outlaws, and we don't really like having to like check in with people. But again, we love the guys at Army Painter, like the whole team, like Kat and Caleb on the event side, and Adam, and everybody we've dealt with. Now they've got Ian Livingston and Bo. Like everybody we've dealt with has been awesome. So
Ian Huxley.
Yeah, sorry, Ian Huxley. What did I say? Ian Livingston? Yeah,
Ian
Livingston. That would also be cool, but it's not that Ian. It's a different Ian.
It's another Ian.
But yeah, it was we've had Dave and I talked it over, and we've had really good interactions with them, and we didn't see a reason not to do it. It was a cool opportunity. So I'm definitely the imposter on the roster. When you look at everybody, it's like, I was like, how did I end up being here? Like I'm basically here because I'm on Dave's show, basically. So but it was really cool. And we've known a lot of these guys for years. Like I've known Uncle Adam for probably at least 10 years. I've known Adam for probably 7 or 8 years. I've known Kat and Caleb since probably right around when we opened the store, so maybe 9 years ago. But it was a cool opportunity. We thought it would be kind of neat. So they were like, oh, we're gonna make a big announcement before AdeptiCon, and then that didn't happen. Then we're gonna make a big announcement at AdeptiCon, and then that didn't happen. So Dave had the idea to basically shoot this. We filmed it with Phil, the Glacial Geek, who's the guy with the clipboard, and Phil's a buddy of ours, and he was nice enough to play like the bouncer in our short film. And Uncle Adam, filmed everything for us, and then we sent it to them, and they cut it up and put music under it, and edited it together for us. So it's kind of cool. Dave and I have been waiting to talk about it for a while. We were just like, okay, we can't yet.
So yeah, so what does that mean for the show? It means pretty much we'll be doing the same sort of things that we always do. It also means that the Army Painter are continuing as our season sponsors for as long as we're on the factory team, and it also means that when we're at shows with that have an Army Painter booth, we'll be spending some time at the booth doing some painting and hanging out, and Jake will be out on the floor slinging paints into people's hands and into their shopping bags.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Oh, Brooksy is here.
What's up, Brooks? And hey, Keith just jumped on too.
Patrick Keith, yeah. So just jumped in. So Brooksy and Patrick, you may have missed the announcement, but we are now part of the Army Painter Factory team. There it is, down there. You can check it out. So we'll show the video again a little bit later in the show, but because it's fun.
It was fun. Again, it was really cool doing that. And Uncle Adam always has like a ton of gadgets. So him being there with his little, I don't even know what to call it. It's like it looks like a steering wheel, and you like put your phone in it, and it like you do everything. And then he had little lapelier mics for us to like walk away and be able to still hear us. Like, so it's definitely nice having somebody like that who's like, oh yeah, I have all that stuff. He's like, I'll just do it all. But
so yeah, it was good. Excellent. No, it wasn't quite a gimbal, Jeff. It wasn't like a steady cam kind of thing.
He has one of those, but that's not what we were using.
Yeah. So But no, that was all
Also, on a related note, now that we have that down below in our notes, there'll be a we have a like a code you guys can use. So anybody who orders from Army Painter,
I haven't put that in yet. I'll put that in.
So
I'll put that in after the show.
We will have that. We'll make sure it gets posted. But you guys can use that code and order stuff, and you get a little bit of a discount when you order direct from Army Painter using our
5%.
Yeah, 5% off using our code. So if there's anything you guys need, that's what I would use. So how you doing, Dave? How's your week been?
It's been crazy busy.
I hear that.
So I've got the Art of volumes 13 to 15 Kickstarter launching next Tuesday. So all the prep for that.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm going to be going to UK Games Expo at the end of May, I wanted to have everything prepped for the Backer Kit pre-order store so that I can have the URL for that, so I can make a QR code, stick on some advertising to take with me, because it'll be ready
right on
UK Games Expo. So there's all that extra stuff done that I would usually be doing in May. Now I'm doing it now in April. There's all that sort of fun. There's the 28 Collected book. We're closing all, basically locking orders and closing the pre-order store today, and doing all that fun. That's a bunch of coordinating there. I guess do a little bit of layout work for the next sort of iteration of the campaign rules for Trench Crusade.
Okay.
Over the weekend, it was basically like, "Hey Dave, do you reckon you can have this like done by early next week?" Sure. Okay, send it through. So I worked on that, and yeah, just all sorts of bits and pieces, finishing up some commission painting and other bits, and then my job, of course. So
yeah, I see you got. I see your desk is covered with trenchwork stuff. I see you got your Velcro patch there. I see you got your pilgrims and stuff.
Well, these my my new Antioch and my Prussians for my new Antioch.
Nice.
I posted this guy. I've got a photo with him that'll come up later.
Nice.
He's been getting some nice reactions on Instagram and in the.
Oh, those are the Red Guard, right? You got the Red Guard sculpts.
The Red Brigade, yeah, that guy's from the Red Brigade. He's a mix of Red Brigade and the regular New Antioch models. That's a regular sort of New Antioch ballistic shield.
I'm poking around to see if I can find like some third-party stuff. Like, I like the way the New Antioch guys look, but like everybody runs them. So I was like, I'm looking around to see what I can find. I might. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way. There's an old model that used to be made by, is it King and Country? That's like the green metal bases with like the rubbery knights on top of it, and they make all different scales. Some of them are really nice. They're
possibly
not.
Yeah.
So there's a model I had when I was a kid, and it's a knight from it's got to be like the 1400s or the 1500s. And he's got like this really elaborate armor, with all like the scallops on the inside of the elbows and stuff. Yeah. And he's wearing it's almost like it's like a sculpted helm with a bevoir in the front. Like it like, so there's a bevoir guard here, and then he has like a flange, like faceplate that swings down. Yeah. And it's super cool. So when it comes down, it makes just like a line, and then the bevoir is here so he can like move his head. And I was like, I want to see if I can find that model or something that looks like it, and just, bump up the scale. So instead of being a 28 millimeter guy, it's like, ogre size or whatever those guys are. So
nice.
But
that'd be cool.
Brooks decided to get into it as well.
Excellent. Scott joined us. He says, "I was in Vegas for a week, came back with money. That's not common for me. I bought the Shatterpoint range. Fantastic, except for the Ewoks."
Yeah, dude, I think the Ewoks are the most hilarious group. I like cannibal teddy bears. Like, that's amazing. That the Ewoks are the most grimdark thing about Star Wars.
Like, everybody keeps saying cannibals. There's no evidence that
that's true. Sorry.
They ever ate any other Ewoks, right?
Yeah, but there's no evidence that they didn't.
Well, there's the absence of evidence suggests that they didn't.
Okay, sure.
That's where I'm going with it.
Sure. I just love the idea that they're carnivorous teddy bears that are
Oh yeah, that's
that's like at first you're like, oh, they're so cute, and then at the end where there's, they have all the helmets, and a buddy of mine's like, well, yeah, there's only the helmets. I was like, in the movie they try to roast Han, like they're trying to like cook and eat him.
Yeah, and not for fun, for food.
No,
for feast. Scott said, I missed the beginning. Are you two actually factory team members now? Is the sellout complete? I am all for it if so.
So no sell-up. We are factory team members now.
Yeah.
So we will have a code we'll post for you guys. You guys can start using the code. Anything you order from them, you'll get 5% off. That'll be a good. Again, it's been a really cool. Like Dave and I don't really know what to expect. Like we haven't. This is brand new. So,
but yeah, it'll be good. I think. What else we got? Sean says, I was at a War Machine tournament at the Portal. I am so rusty, died by the death clock twice.
Okay.
Ooh. And Scott says, okay, I'll buy the Ewoks. You should, totally. Mike Sibilia has joined us. Hi, Mike.
What's up, Mike?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And Louis says, yeah, they use the bones, like the femurs, to do the drumming.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And Alan, actually, I think the hobbyist printer is Alan, who is now working for the Army Painter.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's that. I'm going to show a couple of things.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Okay, so one thing I got.
Ooh, very nice.
So this is a
that's a battle foam bag.
Battle foam bag, just the pack mini. But it's tabletop minions branded, so it's a collaborative one that they did with Uncle Adam.
I have a pack mini around here somewhere.
But so yep, part of the sale of this goes to Uncle Adam. So,
very nice.
But I put my new Antioch patch.
I see you have another patch on your desk in front of you.
Oh yeah, that's my Sultanate patch.
Oh, okay, there we go.
So I've got that. But yeah, the new Antioch patch on there, because I think once I get all of these guys painted up, it's going to they're going to fit nicely in this one. So I've got like
nice.
Where is it? There we go. And some larger spots down there. I'm probably going to have to cut one or two of them out to fit my large lieutenant. But
I got that meeting. I got a meeting next week with that guy. Remember the case I showed you?
Yep.
So I have a meeting with that guy next week. So it looks like it's going to work out. So I think I'll make sure that when we get them, you and I post them so we can like sell them. But
oh, sure.
For years we've talked about how like there's no medium like option. It's either you get something really small like that,
the big one,
yeah, or you get like
the big one.
Yeah, even if you get like the smaller battle foam, like the 432 or something.
Yeah,
it's like a travel suitcase. So nobody makes like the old GW pistol cases, and the one that I showed you is basically the same thing, but it would be made here in the US. There's a guy we've been dealing with in Connecticut that would basically press out the cases and the foam, so we'd have them here. So like, it'll be kind of cool to have, like, yeah, Corey said we'll call it the Goldilocks edition. But it's like three foam trays. So I'll keep everybody posted as we're working on that. Right now I have the meeting next week to make sure that we can get it all done and get all the machining and everything. But
yep, excellent.
What else you got?
Josh, I was going to say Josh has joined us, and Brooksy has to head off to work. Bye, Brooksy.
Have fun, Brooks. Make more terrain, especially all the Hex Tech stuff, because I need a restock.
So this is going to be the first time sort of anybody outside of the sort of production team.
Is this 28 collected? Very nice.
You see the little sheen there of the
pennies on his eyes. I can.
Gloss varnish. Where is it? There we go.
The spot. So we call that spot gloss.
Spot gloss. It is, yes. Spot gloss varnish. And on the back.
Yeah, again, just the character. Yeah, spot gloss. Spot gloss is such a cool trick. Like, you couldn't do that 15 years ago. That was not a thing.
So, yep. There it is. See how
Very nice.
you can
Damn,
jump
that is a big book.
It is. It's huge. It is very heavy here. But yeah, super excited that we've got it now. And yeah, loads of wonderful stuff in there. Oh, so this is the interview with Ian Miller. Fantastic.
Dude, that's rad.
Fantasy artist.
I'm gonna have to pick up a copy of that. I mean, obviously, I have all of your books, so I'm gonna have to get a copy of that. But
I'd be disappointed if you didn't. Some fantastic.
Oh, nice.
Guacamole conversions.
I like that thing down the bottom. That's one of those amble mechs that they put like Goliath guns on. It looks like.
Yep.
Nice.
Some great stuff from Mike Anderson. So
nice. All right, don't spoil it all. You gotta order your own damn book.
Yep. And
how many pages is it?
It's 320.
Damn. Oh, yeah, you got your centerfold.
My centerfold. Woohoo!
Remember, guys, he can't show it to you. It's not family friendly. It's Dave. It's a questionable shot of Dave.
No, it's not a questionable shot of me. It's not.
I'm sorry.
It's
a tasteful shot of Dave.
Excellent. Awesome. Fantastic. What else we got? Heresy.
Oh, Heresy jumped on.
Amos is here as well. Says hello.
Nice. Josh Sawyer just jumped on.
Mike Sevilla said not enough eggplants for that book. Excellent. Heresy for Heretics. Hey, how's it going?
Very nice.
Welcome, Josh Sawyer. Jonathan Palumbo says that you're announcing the World War II competition winners tonight. We are indeed. I have them on a list here.
Yeah.
We'll save that for later.
Yeah, we'll do that at the end.
Should we do that?
No, we do it at the end. We'll do it at the end.
Okay, we'll do that at the end. There we go. We have the winners there. Excellent. And Dave Humble says, just in time for my new bookcase to come in before they ship. Fantastic.
Yeah, Q Jail Gals, man. I like that. So I didn't get a lot of hobbying done this past week. So Adam Pratt was in town visiting from Singapore.
Okay.
So I basically got to hang out with him and get caught up and stuff. And we've got a couple new projects for the store we're working on. We ended up talking about like new miniatures games. It's really funny. Like I think for a lot of us, even all of us watching, like there's different, sort of like footholds of gaming in every little community, right? Like it's like, in my obviously 40K is huge everywhere, but then you've got other games that kind of like stick in certain places. So I know that I know Brooks jumped off, but I think Brooks was saying that he plays a lot of like Infinity. Okay. Is like that's really big out there. And I think he said he's been starting to get into there was something else he was getting. I mean, obviously now he's going to do Trench Crusade, but like Adam was saying that where he is, there's not a lot of like Games Workshop. Like there's some, but he was like, there's a really big bolt action community, I guess.
Okay.
So he's getting into bolt action. And then because of that, he's trying to push some of those guys to maybe do Conflict when the new edition comes out. But he was like, oh yeah, I'm not really familiar with BattleTech. This week we started getting like more and more BattleTech restock. Like we just got a ton of stuff in, a lot of the new stuff. And he's like, man, I really want to play it, like, but nobody plays it where I am. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, it's just weird, like hearing that, certain games kind of catch on in certain areas. So, yeah.
Heresy Paradox says bolt action is big in my local.
Yeah. Like, again, like Adam's in Singapore. So he was like, oh, it's really big there. But then like, I think Simon had a big foothold there. Like he was saying that, I guess,
they have a store there.
Yeah, but like he was saying that what's the
Song of Ice and Fire?
He said Wrath of Kings.
Oh, okay.
Was like it was huge, and then when it went under, like everybody was really bummed out. So now a lot of guys play Ronnie Renton's game, Kings of War.
Kings of War, right?
So he was like, "There's a big Kings of War community." But yeah, it was just weird. So he was like, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I want to take home. And I'm like, all right. So like we like loaded him up like a goodie. I mean, it's a big box of stuff that he's gonna try to like fit inside a full-size suitcase and check. But yeah, he was like, yeah, I want to take home some BattleTech stuff. And he picked up some what's the Native American game? Mythic Americas.
Right. Yep.
So he picked up some Mythic Americas stuff, a bunch of bolt action stuff. Apparently Dust is still huge there.
Okay.
Like it's the community is not growing because it's a dead game. But he was like, there's like at least 24 people that have like big Dust armies, and like Dust is just it's big there. And I was like, okay,
yeah.
But yeah, it was just weird. It's not really something that normally I would think about. So
cool.
I didn't do any real hobby stuff. I did a little bit of like research. So I think Phil and I are we're gonna try to put together Necromunda teams for Nova.
Okay.
And I am super excited because this weekend, is it this weekend or next weekend? A bunch of new stuff goes up, including the 2 special characters that Luis wants. So we'll get those for him. But there's that new Vandoff the Fallen. He's a
yep.
I was like a Blood Angel character in Necromunda. Take my money. So I'm definitely getting him. That'll be really cool. We'll have to talk because I know you play Necromunda, so you have to walk me through like what do I need and like how do you figure out points but I just saw him and I was like, I'm getting that. That model is amazing.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Excellent. Yay. I
bought a glass case. I bought myself a big glass display case for my house so I can
glass case of emotion.
Yeah. I mean that I'll be trapped in. So it's mostly so I can take my models out of all the cases I have and actually have them
on display
somewhere. So.
Display your painted miniatures. That's
seriously.
I'm big thumbs up for that. I like to display mine across the table.
Yeah, and they look great. But yeah, tomorrow I'll be building some 1-to-1 terrain, which will be a glass display case.
Right, excellent. That's cool. I'm going to just swing back to this for a sec. I mentioned earlier.
Very nice.
Woo-hoo. Yard of. So next week, so what we're trying out tonight is showing some interviews or an interview that Jake did at AdeptiCon, filmed by the wonderful Josh Potter. Thank you very much, JP Gotten Rockets, for doing that. Super awesome. But over the next week, I'm going to be filming some interviews with Vince Venturella, Tim Marsh, and Natalia Orich about their art and about writing a book about their art. So we'll be featuring that next week on the show. Also, something that was announced today. So last Thursday, there were some issues with tabletop.events. So the Nova Open ticket sales had to be sort of paused. They're relaunching that next Tuesday night. And there's next Tuesday night, tickets go on sale at 8 p.m. So right in the middle of our show. But there's a class that I really want to get into. So we'll do that live on the show. So I can get in there and get my ticket for that.
Nice.
So we'll do that next week as well as talking to Vince, Tim, and Natalia.
Just as a hilarious note, because we're going to watch the interview that I did with Matt. The whole reason we did this, just so people are aware of this. So Dave and I are both on the East Coast. So he's in Baltimore, I'm in Boston, and it's easy for us to plan stuff because we do our show relatively early. So I'm always like, oh, we can get them to come on. And then Dave inevitably will be like, well, that he's in England or they're in Germany, and that's like an 8-hour, 9-hour difference. So like we can't really
5 or 6 hour difference. Yeah.
Sure. If it's England, if it's Germany or something, or, further west.
Germany 6 hours. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was more than that.
Finland's 7.
Okay, but like it gets crazy. Like, yeah, if we were gonna have like Bo or somebody on from Denmark, like it would be
6 hours difference. Yeah,
yeah. So like
he'd be starting at 1 a.m.
Yeah. So Dave's always like, oh, we gotta keep that in mind. And I'm like, well, most people wouldn't really care if it's one night. So we're like, we'll just interview Matt when we're at the show. We talked about it at Gamma, and then I interviewed him at Adepticon. And the best part is, we could have actually done it live this week because he's in Canada at Canada Plays, which is the Canadian Expo, and they're in Toronto, so they're in the same time zone as us. So I was like, oh man, like, but whatever, it's fine. It's a learning experience. It's great. I wasn't thinking of that when we did it, and doing it live was really fun. Josh did a great job. So and if this works, then we can do more interviews this way. So
it opens up a lot more stuff, particularly with my trip to the UK at the end of May. There's some other possibilities which would be good.
Or if we line something up when we're at San Diego, like we could just do a live interview and then.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Which would be great.
This guy looks rad.
So yeah, this is it's like the test model I did for my Prussians, my Prussian Stosstrooper. So
now this is like there's a guy in the torso driving it.
There's a guy in the whole lot of it. Really, it's really just a big suit of. It is mechanized, like heavy mechanized armor. There's a little sort of.
It's like a Centurion war suit.
Diesel, kind of, yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, this is using the body and the right arm of the Westphalia Red Brigade mechanized armor, and then the left arm and the shield is from the straight up New Antioch Trench Crusade.
Did you freehand that?
Yep.
Very nice, Dave.
Yeah, that was fun. I painted the whole yellow shield first.
Yep.
So that I had the everything, so basically it could work directly on top of that. And then I sketched it out and tried to get this sort of symmetry going with like yellow paint, so that it didn't sort of stand out too much. And then basically colored in with the black. It's really a very dark gray.
Did you damage up the yellow parts of the shield first?
No, I did those after. I
Okay.
sort of did all the damage after. This particular one has a lot of divots, actual physical divots in the shield.
That makes it so much easier to do damage. You're like, oh, good, it's already here.
Yep. And then just sort of painted everything else in there. But so we got sorry, just going back. Corey says you all should have a countdown in the corner so everyone can sign up for Nova at once. We will have to take a break. Let's take a little break for that, I'm sure. Amos says, love this, Dave. Irish Marine says, the shield freehand is killer.
Yeah, very nice.
Sean says he wants to get into the Inquisitor 54 game. You can track some stuff down online, Sean, for sure. And it says, what kind of yellow paint are you using for the shield? I used a mix of where is it? No, I used Ruddy Terra. So this is from the John Blanche set, and
nice.
Fiendish Yellow.
Yeah, that I like that Fiendish Yellow. That Fiendish Yellow is a great color. I enjoy that a lot better than what's the other one? The demonic yellow is good, but it's like a little too bright for a lot of stuff that I do.
I gotta say, I did take this up to demonic yellow.
Oh yeah. I think it's great as like an edge or highlight, but it's I'm always like, that's too bright. I don't want a yellow that's that bright. So
well, I gotta say, like the Moonbeam Yellow, which is the yellow from the John Blanche set, is super bright.
okay.
So I really like that one. But that would have been too bright for this. But
Nice.
yeah, had fun working on that. And yeah, the advanced copy of Ruddy Terra. The other Ruddy Terra, I still have one on my desk somewhere. I think it's buried. That's not it. That's Fur Brown. But you can get that in the set now. Excellent. Heresy says, I moonbeam everything as a base for the eye bleed. Excellent. But these are my other models.
Corey, you are correct. That is an old school painting trick when people use like a contrasting color as the
pink.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, those are my other Prussians that I'm going to be working on.
Nice.
I'm probably I've got the four yeomen who are like this guy here and these guys. And then I'll do my shock troopers, and I'll probably do the trench cleric and the sniper priest who's off the side here. And then come back and do this guy last.
So what are those guys are, well, except for the guy with the officer's cap, those guys are all just from the normal Antioch line, right?
Yeah. They're from the New Antioch Yeoman. The heads are from there's a creator on My Mini Factory called Archimundi. And he did a set of 10 Prussian diesel punk heads. But this head with the Busby here,
Yeah,
just looks so much like the artwork from the Trench Crusade rulebook. But it's basically like straight up copy. But
I was tempted to do mine. I might do mine as like Polish Lithuanian winged hussars. I have a bunch of little like the back banner wings. So I was going to do a bunch of those heads, and I'm going to see if I can find actual hussar heads. So I know Victoria makes them, so I might get a buddy of mine to just 3D print me a bunch of the STL heads. Yeah, because they have that like movable face mask thing.
Yeah,
and I think that's awesome. So I might get those and do a bunch of head swaps. But yeah, they'll look cool. Like I said, the big thing now is I got to figure out what parts I'm going to use to make the actual the mechanized infantry.
Cool. Yeah, that'll be good. Sweet. Awesome. I'm just going to stop sharing that one. And we're ready for to try.
Yeah. Well, bear with us, folks. We'll see if this works.
Here to go.
Do you want to do it in 2 chunks so we can take a break in the middle, or?
Yeah, we'll do it in 2 chunks. So, so what we've got coming up, folks, is the first part of the interview. So it's going to be Jake chatting with Mat Hart basically he's the creative director, co-founder of Steamforged Games.
Super nice guy.
So this is filmed by Josh Potter. Thank you very much once again, Josh. I haven't looked at more than the first couple of minutes of it because I wanted to be surprised myself. But feel free to ask additional questions in the chat. Jake will be answering them if he has additional information.
Yeah, I'll do what I can. He told me a bunch of stuff. We can also, if we take a break in the middle, I can also answer questions then. But yeah, like go ahead. I'll do what I can.
Okay, cool. Let's see. There we go.
Apply the ungent. Speak the words.
Hey guys, how you doing? Jake from BuildPaintPlay here. We are here at AdeptiCon in the lovely city of Milwaukee, and I'm fortunate enough to be joined by Mat Hart.
Audio, do we?
Hello.
I can hear it.
So we're going to talk today about stuff you guys have been working on.
Yep.
And what
That's
Steamforged
great.
has been up to. Just for folks who maybe don't know, can you talk a little about yourself and Steamforged and kind of how you got started in this?
Yeah, absolutely. So Steamforged is currently the second largest games developer publisher in the UK.
Okay.
I don't think we'll ever be first.
I think I know who one is, but
they're just down the road in Nottingham. Yeah, lovely people.
Small little mom and pop owned by I think James Workshop.
James Workshop. Yeah, no, they're super nice guys. We actually got to hang out with a few of them at the show this weekend.
Okay.
So lots of kind of conversations backwards and forwards. So yeah, we stay pretty tight with those guys.
Okay.
So hopefully they're keeping an eye on us because we're kind of rising up through the ranks, doing lots and lots of good stuff at the moment. So Steamforged, founded by myself and my business partner Rich Loxham, really came about. Our friendship came about 15 years ago through our shared enjoyment and interest in playing War Machine.
Right.
We just started meeting and seeing each other at shows and hanging out. Found out that we really got on well with each other. Then, as gamers do, we started talking about all the things that we liked and didn't like about games and things we were starting to get frustrated with. Until
doesn't sound familiar at all.
Yeah, exactly. But we got to the point where that, alongside the rise of Kickstarter as a platform, and this was back in the day when Kickstarter was truly its original intent, which was a content creator or creator saying, hey, does anyone else think this is a good idea enough to kind of send us some money and then we'll actually make it? Rather, it is, evolved into a pre-order system effectively.
Yeah. It was really cool at the beginning. It was like,
I think it was really
a
cool.
lot of like, hey, is this a good idea? And people were like, oh, I think it's a good idea. You're like, oh, okay,
Well,
let's do
it was
this.
a great way of testing a thought out, wasn't it? So, and I also think because of the way we started, that's a theme that we've inherited. So even now, when other companies are really pushing it as almost predominantly a pre-order platform, there's still a part of us that wants to retain some of the development work is still yet to do because you have an active, an engaged audience with whom you can communicate, and the people who love the game idea that you've put out also are able to generate some really cool ideas as well. So we always try and retain that flexibility. But we started with a what we thought was a fairly simple project, little miniatures war game called Guild Ball, which was essentially medieval soccer with axes, and it turned out to be pretty good. And lots of people who tried it fell in love with it, and we really started to break into American distribution. So it went from being a small little hobby for Rich and I, and turned into, oh crikey, we could turn this into something significant. And then having kind of crossed that Rubicon, we then found a much bigger river when I bumped into someone who I thought was an old friend. Turns out it was a case of mistaken identity. It's okay, because he thought I was his best mate as well, even though we weren't. This guy Shuhei said, oh, I really love what you're doing at Steamforged. Do you think that Dark Souls would make a good board game? And I'm thinking, yeah, Shuhei, I could definitely do a board game for you. So we did that, and then that was the best and the worst thing that could have happened for Steamforged.
What year was that?
Oh,
Dark Souls?
9 years ago.
That I think that's the first year I met you, was at AdeptiCon.
Yeah.
Because I knew you guys were there promoting Dark Souls. Yeah. Yeah, we were at the after party upstairs, and I met you and hung out. We talked a little bit.
Yeah, up in Hank's room.
Yeah. But and Dark Souls obviously went really well for you guys.
Well, as I say, it was the best and the worst thing. So we wouldn't be sitting here today without Dark Souls.
Sure.
But I do half wish that we had the success with Dark Souls after we had 3 or 4 other much smaller projects under our belt, because we've
that's
got
a big
to
jump.
learn.
That's a big jump.
We had 40,000 backers, so we screwed up on like the box size. We didn't realise that it makes much more sense if the box sizes tessellate properly onto a pallet, so you get an efficient stacking.
Sure.
So we had got the wrong size boxes. It equated through to $10 per person was the size of the mistake, which doesn't sound awful until it's 40,000 people, and then it sounds really, really awful. So that's just a good example. But I do think, having gone through that experience, it taught us so many lessons the hardest possible way, and in the we're making mistakes in front of 40,000 people,
right?
So it's pretty hard, but I think it really polishes off a lot of sharp edges, makes us really believe in transparency, honesty with the audience, keeping them up to date with what's going on, even when things go slightly awry. And it took us a couple of years to really get to that level of understanding,
right?
But we then are now consistently delivering projects when we say we're going to the quality that we say we're going to. We're doing things that I don't see other companies doing. So, for example, the very first Bard Song, we launched that during COVID and delivered that during COVID 3 months ahead of schedule.
I remember that.
We unlocked stretch goals after the campaign had finished, because we discovered that we were able to add more content to that box, and so we did that even though there was no financial incentive to do so. So we're constantly experimenting and pushing the boundaries of what the crowdfunding audience enjoys and celebrates, because I think the evolution that I'm seeing is people really enjoy the whole experience of crowdfunding, not just the acquisition of something early. They actually enjoy meeting other people who are as hyped as they are about this thing, chatting with them online, chatting with them on the crowdfunding page, building that anticipation, sharing ideas. It's just a really exciting
We also get
time.
to like as a backer, we also get to go on the journey with you guys.
Yeah.
See what you're working on. Like, well, what are you guys doing next?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that guy. I'm gonna ask some questions. So it's cool. You feel like you're kind of it's your glimpse behind the curtain. You kind of get to see how the sausage is made a little bit. I mean, to some extent. A lot of the crazy stuff you guys don't show, which is probably for the best. But I mean, that's why people are like, I can do a Kickstarter, and you're like, yeah, but there's a bunch of stuff they're not showing you, and it's insane.
But I think that's like anything, though, isn't it? It's when someone who is well practiced or well skilled at something is doing it, the greatest demonstration of their ability is everyone else goes, oh, that looks pretty straightforward, doesn't it?
Right.
Tiger Woods hits a drive down the middle of the fairway. I can do that. No.
That looks easy.
Yeah, that looks all right. Just got to whack it really hard.
So after that, after Dark Souls, you guys then did. You have Bard Song, and there's Resident Evil, and you've got Devil May Cry. I know I messed up those orders, but you have those. The new one you guys now have is you've got Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter,
Elden Ring.
Yep, Elden Ring, Dark Souls. Those are the biggies. Sea of Thieves is in there as well.
Oh yeah, Animal Adventures.
Yeah, Epic Encounters.
Epic Encounters is one of my favorite. I'm a big Symborum guy. We've talked about this. And
right.
The 2 new boxes are fantastic. I'll make sure that Dave and I put stuff. There'll be cool pictures also in addition to us being live.
Pictures here.
That's the nice thing about doing this live
Yeah,
is
right.
we'll fix all that stuff. So,
Or he won't, and this will be really awkward.
yeah, that's totally fine.
Picture
Also.
of a clown.
Look, it's kind of what you sign up for if you're watching Dave and I on BuildPaintPlay. Mostly me. Dave is very professional. So after you guys got started, obviously you had to start like ramping up and bringing people on and growing the team. And so it's basically just a couple of you guys. And how many people do you guys have now?
It was just Rich and I, so I'm very proud that some of the very earliest people outside of me and Rich to get involved are still working at Steamforged. So people like Sherwin and Jamie are still with us. Sherwin and Jamie are both senior product owners within the business. So the way that we split up is Rich tends to look after the marketing and the business side of things. We have Toby Davies who looks after everything commercial, and I look after everything product-wise. So I run the overall direction in terms of our products, the design and the development, as well as the art and the graphic design, the sculpting, everything. And then I dovetail in with commercial to do biz dev, so go out being part of like pitching for ideas, working with creatives in other areas and kind of bringing them into our kind of idea factory, as it were.
And obviously you must have you have a really good pipeline with a lot of you and I both have worked in the video game industry before, so you must have a really good pipeline there because a lot of the licenses you get, Resident Evil, Dark Souls, Devil May Cry, Elden Ring, all that stuff. Those are pretty hefty licenses.
Yeah.
So do you have a specific in with, obviously a lot of those are all done by, those are all Konami licenses?
Here's the thing. So prior to starting Steamforged, I made video games for 20 years.
Right.
So if you look at my CV and then look at the people that we work with on licenses, there's a fairly big degree of overlap in that.
You have a couple that are a step outside though. You have a couple that aren't really necessarily part of the same studio. So is it just people that you had known from?
So
those?
it's friends of friends, and also the other thing, it's an unfair aspect of the world, but I like it. Is success breeds success. So, doing a huge Kickstarter with Dark Souls, well, my phone's ringing off the chain, and has been ever since. So we rapidly got to a point where we were able to build long-term relationships, or the first steps towards long-term relationships with, Namco Bandai, with Capcom, with Microsoft, with Sony, etc., etc. And because of my experience in the video game industry and understanding how to manage a creative process, it enabled us to represent Steamforged as a much more structured and professional organisation than perhaps some of the other companies in our industry, because of the nature of how people fall into this industry. Sometimes they don't necessarily bring the same amount of structure and process and understanding of how to run big teams and things like that. I'm being kind, but I think it's, our tabletop gaming industry is very much that's still that early stage formation. Anyone can set something up, anyone can come up with an idea. It's then how do you evolve? And I think that's one of the things that we've learned with Steamforged over the years is you have to keep moving forward. You're like sharks. You have to keep swimming. You have to keep looking for the next meal. You have to keep looking to constantly trying to improve. At no point can you ever rest on your laurels, because if you do, then you're falling behind and you're dying. And the worst thing about it is you don't realise it. So keep working hard. So we've had really minimal staff turnover over the last decade. A lot of the people who are still working with us worked with us on Guild Ball way back when.
But that speaks to your, again, to be more corporate America. Or I guess globally corporate.
Right.
That speaks to one of my favorite adages, which is attitude reflects leadership. So obviously you and your partner must be doing something right for all these people that want to stay there. If they're doing a good job, as you wouldn't have kept them, but they want to stay here because you guys are taking care of them, they like what they do, they're working for you guys. So again, kudos to you. That's huge. That's a huge feather in your cap that you have all this experience to draw on, because now they've been with you the whole way. But also you're like, why trust all these people? I know what they're doing. You know what to expect out of your teammates because you're managing your folks right appropriately.
You join companies, you leave bosses.
Yes, that's right. 100% true.
And I think
that's another episode. We're going to go into that.
That'd be a good episode, though.
It would be.
But yeah, I think Rich and I have attach a huge amount of value to ensuring that we build the right culture, and that isn't free pizzas on Thursday and you get to play video games Friday lunchtimes. It's having a culture of like-minded people who don't want to waste a minute on something that isn't worth spending your time on. It's that consistent drive for excellence, trying to push ourselves, trying to deliver the best we can. We hold each other to really high standards. My wife often, because since COVID, we're all kind of working from home a lot more, and she'll often sort of remark, I don't understand why people like working for you. She goes, you're an absolute bastard. And I'm like, I'm not a bastard. I just set expectations. People buy into it, and then I help manage, identify when we're falling short of where we
Firm but
should be.
fair is a nice
consistent.
replacement
Yeah,
for that.
not wildly all over the place. It's like, this is the quality bar. We need to get above that, right?
But also, it sounds like because of the communication and the teamwork you have, it also sounds like the sort of thing if one of your guys who's working on a project has a problem or runs into something, he can come to you and go, Matt, like, this isn't going to work because of X, Y, and Z, and lay everything out, and you're like, okay, I understand.
I mean, I won't tell you which project it is, but we had a very large project where the project management team came to me and said, oh, we've scratched below the surface and we are a long way short of where we need to be.
Right.
So we got the senior guys in the dev team. We call the dev team Team Cobra.
Nice.
So because we particularly enjoy Karate Kid, but also in the UK when the heads of government meet for an emergency meeting, it's called a Cobra meeting.
Nice. Okay,
So I thought it would be kind of badass for us to have Cobra meetings as well. So we had a Cobra meeting. All of us, my senior guys kind of got together. We went, Project A is in a bit of a doom spiral. We need to work out what we got to do. How do we drag it back online? How do we still hit the date? And I was incredibly proud of the team. Just went, cool, roll up their sleeves, and we all piled onto it. And it was a lot of pressure, a lot of shouting at each other, a lot of awesome times. Really, I really enjoyed that chaos. But we delivered, and it was a tiny little bit late, but we delivered. And when the game came out and people were playing the game, to them, it was another great game that that delivered on that experience. But behind the scenes, we're like, whew, right, now we've done that for 6 months. We need to get back and do what we should have been doing for the last 6 months. So we're not scared of hard work.
That's really cool though. Like that again, it speaks to the team and the quality of your stuff. Like we've gone along for years now, almost a decade. But like as a consumer, looking at your stuff from the outside, if take us out of it, you're always like, oh wow, their stuff is so good. It's all really very well put together. But again, it's like the duck, right? Like everything looks nice and smooth up top, and it's just everything's working furiously below the surface. And I think you guys do a really good job of balancing.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I'll say it to anyone. I'm not afraid, and I don't think anyone in should ever be afraid of making mistakes. It's how you learn stuff. It's how you move forward. That is that old tech bro adage of break it fast, isn't it? And all that other bollocks that they come out with. But I think don't make the same mistake more than a couple of times.
Sure.
If you can stick to that, then you are doing really well.
I like that. We need to make that a T-shirt. Don't make the same mistake more than a couple of times.
Yeah. So but talking, referring back to us talking about culture, if you have that attitude as a leader, what that means is you're creating a much safer environment for people, one, to take some risks, because they know that the consequences aren't going to be a telling off or losing their jobs or whatever. And two, that gives them the opportunity to try some really wild and wacky stuff.
Yeah.
And nothing is so broken that it's unrecoverable. So let's make mistakes, learn from them, move on, make fresh mistakes every week.
Sure.
I think. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess as a follow-up or a nice segue, we're talking about like being a shark. You gotta keep swimming, otherwise you'll start to sink.
Yeah.
And new acquisitions.
Yes.
Let's talk about the whole privateer and all of those new licenses you guys now have. So you've got like Riot Quest, and you've got
Rainbow Six,
you got a whole bunch of stuff. But obviously the big one is War Machine, which I know you're a huge fan of. Like we talked about, you and your partner, I'll tell you, Matt. Walk us through that whole thing. How did that happen?
So it was a conversation that we started, a number of years ago. We just reached out to Matt. We knew that Privateer Press were at least open to a conversation to selling the IP, because we'd heard that other conversations had, progressed, stopped, carried on. So we knew that there was a potential there. So we reached out and registered our interest. and kind of got to know Matt, because despite playing his game and being in the same industry for a few years, we'd never actually really, our paths hadn't crossed. So it was nice to do that. We then met up with him, had a drink at Gen Con one year to get to know each other, and just kind of stayed in touch. And the more we stayed in touch and the more we talked about what we think we'd like to do and where we think we'd like to go and what we think the potential is with War Machine, because and from my perspective, the chances of buying a product that has a 25-year legacy with that depth of world building, the art folders that I have are just full of amazing images. It's very rare. You walk around AdeptiCon, there's some cracking games out there, new games, but they don't have the depth. They haven't got the, so you don't have that sense of longevity. And I do think for a tabletop minis game, as gamers, we want the security of knowing that what we're going to start spending our dollars on, and more importantly our time on, and our spiritual energy to learn this game and get excited about it. You kind of don't want to do that with a game that might disappear, next year, or when the license runs out. So if the license runs out, well, does that mean the game's dead now? So I guess there's always that kind of question in your mind as well as a gamer. So looking at War Machine from that perspective, both Rich and I, like, if we can, we definitely should. So we kept going with the conversation. In between all of those points, obviously COVID happened, and it created that weird kind of ripple effect through the industry. And one of the byproducts of that was a tightening of the supply chain. I don't know if you remember the Suez Canal incident, where containers went from $5,000 a pop to $25,000 a pop. That was a fun time. But a lot of the smaller, more indie-sized companies started to really run into some horrendous pinch points. Because Rich and I are gamers, and also businessmen, that wonderful kind of convergence of opportunity for us to do a good thing and stop a game that we personally like from disappearing, but also picking up an IP which adds value to the overall business. So our investors are happy, and we're kind of broadening our stock list and stuff like that. So killing two birds with one stone.
When you figured that out, that must have been like, you're like, oh, we can do it. Oh, we can get the game.
It was sick. And we were then, and it sounds awful, but we were then like looking through Kickstarter, looking through GameFound, looking through games industry news, and trying to identify where there might be an opportunity for us to get involved, to help out, but also increase our value as a business overall. So picking up Rainbow Six, Euthia was another one that we picked up, which was developed out in Eastern Europe. Lovely. Tadeusz is lead designer on that. Incredible guy, great designer. Did not enjoy the business side one tiny little bit. So, and we discovered that that's a fairly common theme as well. So there's these people who have the most wonderful creative ability, but running a business is hard.
Yeah.
Right? And time consuming, and it gets in the way of you doing the stuff that you really enjoy, i.e. being creative.
Yeah.
So it always becomes a source of frustration then.
Well,
so
when
you swoop in.
You need that. You need both, like, I remember an adage we used to have at GW was, and this is years ago, but in like the third age, before the dark times, it was in every team you need to have a planner, you need to have a maniac, you need to have a salesman. Yeah. So the planner is sort of the guy that makes everything, this has to get done, we got to do this, and makes everything make sense. Yeah. The salesman is the guy who, like, he's the business guy, he's running everything makes sense. And the maniac is like your energy guy, your creative guy, who like comes up with everything. But you need all three pieces to make everything work. Yeah. It sounds like you guys had that, and it was a cool opportunity for you as a fan, as a lifelong fan of the game, to get your hands on it. Yeah. So when did you guys actually like close everything, and like when did you sort of like welcome them into the fold kind of thing?
Oh yeah. But just before I go on to that, so interesting hearing your breakdown of teams. So I work on a 4-axis basis. I always have done for the last 20, 30 years now. But you have a maniac. We call that the yellow color. You need the sales guy or the driving force. That's the red guy. Okay. You need the process guy or girl, of course. Sure. That's the blue. And then the missing color is the green person. That's the person who thinks about the team and the people and how it's going to affect everyone.
I like that.
So I've found that when I build teams over the years, and I've built many, many teams, I always have those 4 key roles in my mind. So when I'm looking to round a team out, I'm looking to say, have I got that that energy across the entire team.
Nice.
So yeah, just riffing off what you were saying.
I mean, it's similar roles. It's
very
just broken
similar.
up different.
Yeah.
You're always going to need any team. Like
Yeah.
when you're building the Avengers, you can't have 4 Hulks. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and look, I've done the personality test, so I am red and yellow, but I'm also capable of understanding those other 2 roles, but I don't necessarily naturally trend towards it, so I have to force myself to do it. And similarly, people that I have who are like, sort of yellow and blue, they're the ones who will go out and grab Monday.com and make it do amazing planning stuff. So they've got that manic energy.
That's not my jam.
No, me either. And
That's
they're like,
not
look
my
at this.
color.
And I'm like, okay, that seems cool. So it's how you break it down. So as long as those 4 roles I find are covered, ideally by individuals, you're in a really strong position. But to answer your question, we announced, is it 8 or 9 months ago now? I think it was last June or July, something like that.
You had announced that there was the big presser where you had like all the different icons of all the different like
That's
games
right.
and stuff.
Yeah. I think it was July, just before Gen Con, wasn't it? And then Gen Con, Necrofactorium came out. We had obviously had part of the booth was dedicated to War Machine, but the other, majority of the booth was, allocated to all the other board games and box products like Epic Counters.
Right.
But we had loads of War Machine players coming, and we got to kind of hang out and chat and catch up with old friends who we haven't seen for years.
Right.
And that was a really cool time. Thoroughly enjoyed that. But whenever you go through an acquisition, however deep your due diligence is, you don't discover everything. So once the deal is complete and we're then going through that period of discovery and uncovering all of the skeletons and all of the, the pinch points that might exist, in the existing pipeline, then we're kind of going through and just trying to tidy up as much as we can. So one of the big things that we did, which we know at the time was a little bit disappointing to the community and more than a little bit worrying to our investors, we said, the very best thing for us to do right now is pause all new releases for 3 months, because we need to get an overhaul of all the hardware that's being used, because the infrastructure was old and that was contributing to a lower quality.
Sure.
We need to get people trained up. We need to get ahead on the sculpting pipeline. We need to get better ways of supporting the minis. We need to investigate the type of resin and materials that we're using, all of that kind of stuff. So we were doing all of that, and we also had the bright idea of rolling out a HIPS plastic kit as well, which is an entirely different pipeline.
Which I was psyched about.
Right, yeah. I mean, that was
Everybody's
cool.
psyched about it.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like shuttle trips back and forth with China and trying to work out, what technology we can push with that. And we've gone for the sort of four mold. So we actually have slides that go in. So we actually have negative space within our frames now. So no, you don't have to drill the barrels on our guns; they're already pre-drilled effectively. So I mean, basically, that's where my manic energy. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this, and then you kind of just run at it really hard until it happens.
Right. Okay. So I'm not going to make you go through everything, and I'll make sure we put the link down below. You'll be able to click down below for the link to the keynotes. You'll be able to see all their announcements. So I'm not going to make you go through all that again.
Okay.
But like, what do you think? What are the biggest things you think that either people should be on the lookout for, or that you're really excited for as part of that?
So we've obviously, immediately after the keynote, AdeptiCon took a sharp turn into a different direction, and that direction was lovely. It was people coming up and wanting to just express thanks and admiration for the keynote and how excited they were. And that obviously is incredibly exciting to hear. Key things that I think I hear from a lot of people, there's an awful lot of excitement about the Press Ganger program coming back. So just to remind you, the Press Ganger program was the volunteer program. So those is a community of those awesome people who give up their time to build a community in their local area for more people to get into the hobby and play more games. And they pretend to themselves that they do it so they can then have more people to play games against. But actually what they do is just end up running more and more cool events. And I love that it floats people's boat. People really get a kick out of doing that. We really appreciate it. And I think there's a number of factors that led to the cessation of the Press Ganger program as it was. what we're looking to do is, you know as well as I do, there was some really great aspects to it, and then there was some parts of its design that were fundamentally flawed. And
we were all like, wait, what's happening?
So we think we've got it where we can keep and capture the best bits of it, but sidestep some of the more egregious elements of it. So I know people are super excited about that. There's a whole bunch of new releases coming through, so depending on which faction you play, there's definitely some new releases coming for you. Old Umbry was shown for the first time. That's a brand new faction that's coming out in a couple of months' time. People are super psyched about that.
I think it's really good. Thank you so much for your time. Like it was great talking to you and catching up.
Love it.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe below. Click all the links and stuff. There'll be links to them. If you have any questions, you can message us here. You can also message their social media team and have any questions about any of the Steamforged products or War Machine specifically. I know you guys also have that. You have the app.
Yes.
I know Toby was really excited about. You going in, you guys were like, oh, we're at X amount of viewers. And now you have like a ton of people sign up. It's like over 50,000, right?
No, last count was 27.
Okay.
I think 27K.
All right. Yeah. So, and I'm sure that's just going to continue to rise, especially after this.
Yeah.
But we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the only thing I will say is this. So huge thanks to Josh. Again, some more behind the camera magic for everybody. So we started this interview, and I don't think Josh realized how long it was going to be. To be fair, like Matt and I didn't either. We were like, oh, we'll just ask a couple questions. And Matt and I are friends, so it was a pretty easygoing conversation. So while we're filming, Josh is filming, and after like 10 minutes, I look over and he's like this. I notice he's got his elbows on his ribs, and he lets go with one hand, and he's like getting the blood going in one hand. And then he's like switching hands. And I'm like, oh, Josh's arms are falling asleep. So I'm trying to wrap it up. So like we ended up finishing this. And then for the second one, we got Josh a table, and he set up like a tripod, like a little tripod thing, so we could like have the camera. But Josh was a champ. Like I could tell his arms were killing him by the end of that interview. You're muted, Dave. You muted yourself. You're muted.
There we go. How's that?
There you go. That's way better. That's way better.
No, I was going to say that was a great interview as well. But no, Josh, absolute trooper. Thank you very much for that, Josh. But yeah, some good stuff in there. I think it is always interesting to listen to the way that people think about things, and that the idea of the red, yellow, green, blue. Kind of.
Yeah, I never heard of it described as colors, but I was like, it's basically the same thing. They just added the one that's like the caretaker. I really like that. I thought it was super cool.
I must admit at one point when I looked at the interview beforehand, I sort of scrubbed through to a random spot, and it was you guys talking about colors, and I thought, are they talking about like Trivial Pursuit pie pieces?
No.
Slot that into the. Excellent,
man.
And yeah, Dave, that's the technical glitch.
Not bad though. Not bad.
Not a bad one. Just a little one. So
again, Matt's such a nice guy, and like you can tell that he's really engaged, and he loves like all of us. I think he not only is he a hobbyist and like loves being a part of the community, but he loves what he does. So he was really funny. After the second interview, we talked a little bit, and he was like, oh, I don't know. I'll have to check with China. I don't know if I was supposed to say that. So he's like you and I. He gets really excited. He'll start talking about stuff. And there were a couple things that we talked about. Fortunately, we were off camera. Like once we finished the next interview, there's a bunch of stuff that he mentioned that he was like, I probably shouldn't say that. I was like, it's all good. We're not recording now. We're fine. I'm not going to say anything. But no, he's
did you promise not to say anything?
Yeah, no. So I didn't. Like, he's super easy to talk to. Like me and him and Toby hung out a bunch. Toby's another great guy. I'd love to have him on at some point. Toby basically handles all their, like you said, Toby handles a lot of the sort of like interactive stuff.
Right.
He's their, I forget what Toby's actual title is, but their whole team is great. They're all super nice.
Cool, excellent. Just like to say hi to everybody who has joined us since we started that interview.
Yeah, Mick jumped on.
Yeah,
Matt Bowles jumped on.
I think something that would be good for us to do, like when we're doing this in the future, is we try and keep them to around like 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It gives us an opportunity to sort of come back and cover some things where it's like, oh, I should have been taking notes. But no, I think it worked well. Apart from for some reason me not being able to hear it coming through StreamYard.
Yeah, it's coming through my StreamYard, but like I muted mine and flipped over to YouTube as soon as you started it. I mean, everybody said you can hear it, so you can hear it on YouTube fine.
Oh yeah. Hearing that's absolutely working fine there. But yeah, I don't know. But
the next section is basically we talk a lot about specifically the privateer stuff, and we go into like the paint line a bit, talking about like their plans and what they want to do moving forward. A lot of their colors, when that's supposed to hit stores, stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Let me just make sure I've got that lined up. Are we ready to roll?
Sure.
Do that.
It's the same. It's about the same. I think JP said both sections are like 26-ish plus minutes. So
yeah, excellent. Yeah, I think they're both close to 4 gig as far as files. So let me find the next one. There it is, part 2. I know we have the
Jake here at
P3 rack
back again with the lovely Mat Hart from
and there we go.
We're back to talk about some more stuff that he's got going on, more projects in the works. Some stuff that's currently out or about to be out, and some stuff that is very nearly out, like around the corner kind of stuff. So, what do you want to start? Do you want to start with games first, or?
Yeah, let's talk about games.
Okay.
Yeah, so the absolute biggie is Elden Ring.
Yep.
Has shipped to Kickstarter backers and is shipping out to retail friendos and should be coming to a store real soon.
It is like a way bigger Dark Souls box.
It is colossal. Yeah. Well, look, we did something that I think is kind of smart, and I'm secretly kind of proud of. The box is the exact same size as the interior space on a Kallax.
Yeah.
So it just goes
Genius.
in. Yeah.
It's one whole Kallax.
Yeah, it's one Kallax. That's a new unit of measurement. So, but beyond that, there's I can't remember how many other boxes. There's like half a dozen boxes in total. Not of that size, but there's little expansions. But
they collectively, I think, fill up another Kallax.
yes, well, the Dragon of Gil, for example, is one of the biggest dragons I've ever seen.
Yep.
It's absolutely colossal. So that's kind of going out. We're starting to see the reviews come back. I had an awful kind of designer anxiety about it because we were doing something that I think is quite clever and quite innovative in that kind of genre of game, trying to really capture that Souls-like combat experience. Takes a tiny little bit for people, to get your head around it, but once you do, I think it's really quite sophisticated and clever what's going on there, and it really makes you have to think your way through every combat rather than just button bashing your way through or just spamming cards. And
I remember when I saw you guys at Gamma like a month ago, you and Toby were talking about how there's that whole thing where you're like, oh man, I'm having a really tough time, and then once you kind of figure out the code, you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
So you're like, I got that one.
Yeah.
But again, that doesn't help you for everything. It helps you with that.
Correct. So internally we talk about things that are called combat puzzles. So combat, and this is true for D&D, so epic encounters should all the way through board games, etc. And even like a tabletop game, a combat should never just be that old-fashioned 2 lines meet and you roll dice until someone dies.
I hit it with my sword.
Yeah, like 40k was back in the day, right? Way back when, or because it really was showing its military gaming kind of history, wasn't it? I think a combat should always be some kind of puzzle to unlock, and whether your reward is defeating the combat or accessing more narrative or filling the world out a bit more, there is a puzzle there, or should be there, to make you engage with the combat. So with Elden Ring, it was very much in our mind's eye that every scenario that we were designing needed to have that element of, if you can work out how to unpick this, it will feel a lot easier. But if you don't know, or you can't do it, or you can't execute on it, it's going to feel quite hard. Which, I don't know about you, but that describes my experience with Dark Souls and Elden Ring generally.
Yeah, pretty much.
Once you know how to do something, okay, cool. You still have to execute, but knowing is half the battle, right?
Yeah, because now you know what steps you need to take in what order to do the thing.
Exactly.
It's just whether or not you can pull it off before the enemy kills you or whatever.
Yeah, but I think the thing with the Elden Ring combat that I love, but is also the hardest thing to get, is you using models to represent something other than, we're doing something where the model represents not only your spatial location, but also your poise. And poise is quite an important aspect of the Souls combat engine. Sure. In simple terms, it's are you aggressive? Are you defensive? Are you balanced? Yeah. So it's generally reflected in the relative spacing that you have. So you watch these YouTubers who know exactly how to do it. They're standing right here and they're just dodging around perfectly. I can't do that. I don't, So I tend to, when I'm playing, sit in the mid-level or even quite far back and work out how I'm going to approach it. Right. And trying to capture that in a tabletop game. And so essentially the game board is broken up into grids. Your enemy stays the other side of the board. Right. You never actually sort of touch as models, and you never kind of swirl around each other.
Yeah, you pick like your engagement area. Like
it's trying to represent. So let's say you're an Elden Ring monster, and sure. I'm a brave knight. If we're going to have a fight, it doesn't matter if we're over there, in here, and rotating around. If you look, we're always
it's the engagement.
There's an engagement line between us. Well, that's what that represents. But you might look sidestep left or right, a couple of lanes. You might move in to be a bit more aggressive, move back to be a bit more defensive. Right. That's what it captures. So there's an abstraction there that the combat is swirling around, but actually the really important technical part about the combat is how do I manage my distance? How do I anticipate what the bad guy's going to do? How do I put myself into a really good spot so I minimize the damage and maximize my output? These all sound really easy when I say them quickly. Yeah. They're not.
This will be easy. You guys will nail this.
Right.
No problems.
You've got to balance all of those things all at the same time. And of course, because it's a board game, there's an RNG element in there that you need to accommodate for as well. So it's not dice. It is. It's essentially a curated RNG, but you're still flipping cards to determine your damage. So yeah, every player has a damage deck, which you get to evolve over the course of the game. Okay. So you can tune and tailor what's actually in that deck. So you could be really pumping one card up to be in a really big amount of damage, or you could be looking to bring all damage up slowly to give you much more consistency. So there's, again, personal choice in how you want to approach it. But those don't always deliver the amount of damage that you hope they're going to deliver when you need them to be delivered. So
that's part of the chance of the game.
So. Exactly, yeah.
All right, so that's very, very soon, or in some places, if you were back.
Pretty sure it's, by the time you get this out, I'd be surprised if we hadn't hit the retail date. I think it's either now or in the next kind of week or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else? Are there any other board games that are currently like in development or about to do anything?
Well, we've got a bunch in development. I'm not sure how many I can talk about, other than there are two. One is Helldivers.
I remember that.
So that's obviously having worked with Sony and Guerrilla Games on Horizon. Mm-hmm. We got to know the guys over at Arrowhead, had a good conversation with them. Pitched them an idea, went over and had a kind of couple of demo sessions where we put together a prototype. They fell in love with it. So Helldivers is a crowdfunding campaign that we're currently ramping up the hype on. We got to work with Nicholas Yu and Derek Funkhauser. So they kind of joined the dev team on this. They're two guys that I met at Gamma the year before last, and really kind of got on, so that's been a lot of fun working with them. So yeah, Helldivers is coming to crowdfunding. I think it's towards the end of April.
I feel like that one will be pretty good for this.
We've got secret high hopes for that one. Yeah, the engagement is huge. Everyone we talk to go, I've sunk 400 hours into that.
That was one of those games that came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it was like every spring, like, what game are you playing?
I remember playing the first one with my buddies, and that was it was like a twin joystick style. Yep. And it was chaos, and loved it. And then the new one came out, and you're like, oh wow, okay, you're taking it to full 3D, and it looks incredible. So, and I love the humour. The humour really appeals to me as an English person. Like it's right on the money for me in terms of that sarcastic, ludicrous look at the way the world works and everything like that. So that's pretty cool. We're also working on an original IP, which is a game called Project Tyrant. That's the working name at the moment. It'll probably be shortened to Tyrant. It's really exciting for us because it's our first real foray into the sci-fi space.
Okay, awesome.
So we've developed a really strong reputation for crafting wonderful survival horror experiences. And I love movies like Alien and Event Horizon and all of that kind of sweet stuff. So this is taking our really polished survival engine, horror engine, putting it into space, telling I think a great story, but also playing and messing about with people's expectations, but in a cool way. So yeah, I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but
but something to look forward to.
There's some weird stuff going on up in space, and you get involved in it, and before you know it, it's an existential threat to basically the entirety of mankind, and you've got to deal with it. The trouble is, you're a group of reprobates who are just trying to salvage their way off onto a ship and nick some stuff.
I mean, I'm here for it. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So then you've also got some new Epic Encounter stuff. There's the Demon.
Yeah, Demon and the Durgar. How do you pronounce it? Because
Durgar.
You're Durgar. Cool. I'll give you. Yeah, correct. No, there's Dwagar.
No.
Yeah,
it's Durgar.
Durgar and
it's Durgar.
Durgar. Yeah. So yeah, Durgar and the Greater Demon.
A bunch of and they're all in purple plastic this time. It's a bunch of armored dwarves, and then it's the Demon from Bardsong, right? It's just being repackaged.
Yep.
For those of you who don't own Bardsong, which you should.
Yes.
But yeah, super. I mean, he's like this big.
He's crawling out of like the summoning circle.
Oh yeah, he's pulling himself.
Yeah, so I think he'll be a great set piece model for any D&D campaign. We're also doing the the Mechanica.
Okay.
So they're or we call them Steelborn.
Okay.
So they're like the Mechanica from D&D.
They're like Warforged.
Warforged. Started in
every
Eberron
game has a different.
Exactly. So for us in Guild Ball and some of our other games, we call them Mechanica. But we've also called them Steelborn
There's a Bardsong expansion that's them, right? It's like the lower levels.
Same models.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
No, well, nicely done.
Well, I say same models. They're being adjusted for Epic Encounters.
Sure.
So, yeah. But yeah, cracking models. Bardsong has had a really strong run. But it's at that point where it's looking, the original boxes, we're looking to sunset. Okay. And that means that there's a whole heap of minis in there that are absolutely awesome.
The minis are spectacular.
I don't want to lose access to those minis.
No.
So they're thinking about different audiences who may not have picked up Bardsong but might want to pick up these cool minis. That's how we're thinking that they would make a really sensible transition into Epic Encounters, much smaller price point.
Okay.
You can pick and choose the minis you want from that particular range. So we'll see how it plays out.
All right.
I am working on another local legend style product at the moment. That's got a relatively long lead time on it, so I won't talk in depth too much about it. But local legends was me sharing with anyone who listened how I like to run a tavern encounter.
Right.
Because almost every single classic fantasy adventure either starts or ends, or you go to
at some point
in time. And yet, it's one of the hardest encounters to actually run at the table.
Okay.
It's just really tricky to create the sense of an evocative setting with all of these sounds and smells and dozens of people and stuff going on everywhere. You can't describe it. There aren't enough words for you to describe it before your players are losing interest.
Right.
And then what happens is you finish describing it and you go, oh, and there's a guy over in the corner who seems to be, twiddling a gold coin. All right, straight to that guy. So all of this other stuff is ignored and they just go straight to the guy who's like the totem giver.
I always think you're absolutely right. It is a really fun, it's a fun session to be part of, whether you're running it or playing it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you don't think about how difficult it is to articulate and make that real. And it's like we're in a bar and everyone's like, I've been in a bar. You're like, oh, but it's this. One of the things I like, for those of you who don't know, Local Legends is a kit. It's about the same size as all the Epic Encounters boxes. There are 10 fully fleshed out taverns and inns. The map's really cool, so it shows you from the outside what it looks like, and then you're like, we should go in there, and then you flip it over and you open it up, and it's what the inside of the inn looks like. And
but that interior
16
shot,
NPC cards.
Yes,
it's playable. You can move your characters around on it.
So that interior shot is incredibly important because the old adage is, a picture paints 1,000 words. well, I can put a picture of this tavern interior down. I don't need to describe anything. You already get a sense. Oh, it's the Thieves' Tavern. Or there's a little trapdoor there. You know, there's a rack of knives over hanging on the wall. There's stuff lying all over the tables. There's a mezzanine area, etc., etc. So, what Local Legends encourages players to do is to look. It's got that kind of Where's Waldo sort of vibe to it.
Absolutely.
So it's look at what, if it's on the picture, it's there. I'm the kind of player that GMs either love or hate, which is I want to do wacky stuff.
Aren't we all?
Right? So I'm like, well, I'm gonna pick up a plate and fuzz it across the room. Well, there might not be a plate on the table, Matt. Dude, there's a plate on the table, right? In my head, there's a plate on the table. Oh, look, in the picture, there's a plate on the table. So I'm definitely doing that. Oh, no, there's a barrel full of fish and some ice, you say? Well, that's getting kicked over later on. So it really encourages you to kind of interact with it. And like you say, there's NPC cards, which are essentially portrait cards. So you can put them down in their relative location in the tavern. The tavern is rendered in a almost isometric kind of view, so you get a sense of depth and space to it.
For anybody at home who's played like Baldur's Gate, that's that, it's on the screen, but you can see like the levels are painted in, so you can place everything. It's genius. I love that.
Every tavern has its own like unique mini game, because in my experience, players love little mini games. Risking 10 gold on a spin of a dice. So there's some fun dice games and coin games and stuff in there. But the 60 NPCs are fully fleshed out. There's on average 6 to 10 per tavern. Each of them has their personality mapped out, what's driving them, some adventure hooks. So if you go to a tavern and the GM drops it down, you go and talk to someone, there's always something to kind of talk about. And where the name comes from is every single tavern has a legend. So there's a tavern where they've got an owlbear infestation problem. There's this massive owlbear that keeps coming into town and stealing people's clothes off the washing line and doing weird stuff. And the more people you talk about it, the more you find out about this owlbear. And someone goes, do you know what? If you could deal with that, then that's definitely worth money. Now, as a GM, you might have just dropped that in as a bit of a stopgap between adventures or on the way to an adventure, but now suddenly you've got a little side quest, so you can go off and deal with the owlbear.
It's so clever. Like again, I told you this at Gamma. It is literally one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It's at my store we have like the 3 core books. So like if it's D&D, it's like you got your player's handbook, your monster manual, your dungeon master's guide. And then there's the local legend. It's right there on the table. I'm like, you should be buying it. Anybody who's a GM, I tell them all the time, you can also use all the NPC stuff for anything. You're in a city, you're in a temple or whatever, and you flip them down. Because inevitably, when I'm setting up the bar, I'm like, okay, there's 2 town guardsmen that look tired and they're grumbling about their shift, and there's a put-upon barman who's like wiping out a glass of empty rag, and then there's this barmaid who's harried and trying to deal stuff, and there's a fisherman, and then over here there's a man in black who's like, sitting in the corner, like swiggling a pipe. He's adjusting his monocle or whatever. And then inevitably somebody's like, I think that fisherman's up to no good.
Yeah, he looks.
And you want to be like,
suspicious.
he's not. But also, like, I don't. Now I'm like, oh, they're like, we're gonna follow the fisherman. I'm like, I have to write him a backstory, and you don't. You're like, oh no, here's this thing. Like, he's all set. If you decide to accost this poor man and ask him what are you doing out here? Oh, I'm just gonna drink after fishing all day. You're like, okay, cool. But yeah, the NPC cards are great. They're really, really fun.
Well, I like giving them to my players. So deliberately, we didn't put names. I mean, in the NPC book, we obviously give them all names. But if you're running a game and you already have an NPC that the players have interacted with, you might just want to say, oh, and this is Steve the stevedore, right? And now they've got a face to a name, but on the back of the card, so again, everything's designed to be tactile. You can pick the card up, and when you flip it over, it says the first thing you notice about this character is, and then it gives you a really unique identification.
They're super cool,
and that's what sticks in people's minds. So it is the jagged scar down that disappears in the collar of his shirt. Oh, it's Scarface guy. Cool. Like, I don't know, my players and me, I include myself in that, we like those really simple mnemonics rather than trying to, whatever the word salad name is. You're never going to remember that, but I do remember the guy with a jagged scar and the other one who's, I don't know, whose one ear is bigger than the other.
All right.
Eerie, as we call him.
Old Eerie.
Old Eerie.
So you've got that stuff coming out, a new Local Legends edition, which you're working on, which we won't get into now.
Yep.
And then obviously the other big one for you guys, we talked about the War Machine and everything last time. So now you've got P3, which a lot of people will be fans of, and I know you're a big fan.
I love it. Yeah.
So I know that they're getting ready to ship. Like racks are kind of getting sent out. Like I know we have ours coming after Truck and a Fizz. So walk us through what that was like, you know, with that. Because you guys have never done a paint line before, obviously. So.
No, well, actually, I had developed a paint line about 7 or 8 years ago with the same factory. So the factory that we work with is in the same city where one of our studios is. So we have quite a close relationship with them. And I had worked with them previously to start putting together what I thought would be a really cool paint range. Since that time and now though, the number of paint ranges that have come to the market has exploded. I saw another brand new one today.
There's a lot.
Popped up. There is a lot. So I would not have written a business case to present internally for a brand new paint range from scratch.
Right.
However, when you acquire something that has the heritage of the P3 brand, that was developed by amazing people like, you know, Matt DiPietro, Mike McVeigh, Dallas had a hand in it. There's some really awesome, talented people who have been developing this line.
You've got that legacy and that long.
You've got a legacy to kind of like really lean into. So,
but it is different. It is different.
Well, it was a terrifying prospect to know that the easiest thing for me to do would have been gone like, let's just reissue it, right?
Right.
So, but when I sat down with the factory and they're like, well, look, paint technology has moved on vastly. We're not even sure that we could retrofit to that old style brain. But what we can do is start with that as a base and then look at what we can do. So we have in places tripled and quadrupled the amount of pigment that's in the paint. But it's not the same pigment. It's a much more modern pigment, but it's still that liquid pigment. So you can dilute. You can paint with this straight out of the bottle. Has that wonderful P3 creamy texture.
Great mouthfeel.
Oh yeah, tastes wonderful. Taste of rainbows. And you, but it lays down flat. Is very resistant to brush strokes. But you can also thin it all the way down to water, so you can find the dilution that you want. So you can go all the way down to the thinnest of glazes. I personally paint in really thin translucent layers, so I tend to be a 50-50 dilution guy.
Sure.
But if I want to go to my hedge highlights, I will then, you know, go neat out the bottle and so on and so forth. So I wanted to keep that. I also wanted to make sure that if you previously painted with P3 paints, you were going to come to this with a preconception of how this needs to behave. I need to make sure that I do not
stray too far.
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't want to stray at all.
Okay.
So what I really wanted to do was modernize the paint range insofar as the pigment loading. So we added more pigment. We fiddled about with the binder and you know the overall formulation, but that was more in pursuit of opening the dry time just a little bit.
Sure.
Because one of the things that P3 is synonymous with is with wet blending, and especially wet blending, but anything that can wet blend can also feather and layer really easy. Two brush blending was the standard studio way of painting for War Machine for many a year. It's slightly out of vogue now, the two brush blending, but people still feather and split blend. So I wanted to make sure it's still delivered in that regard. But then the other thing was, and this will, this will probably ring a bell in your mind, is when you look at the old P3 paint range, like a lot of other paint ranges, not all paints are created equal, and not a lot of paints behave the same way. And the really best example of how not to do it was the first wave of contrast paints that GW came out with, because some of them were incredible straight out of the pot. Others were so saturated that you had to thin them down, you know, sort of 4:1 before they became usable. Others were like weak as like water, and there was very little you could do with them other than adding more ink to it.
Yeah, it was almost like they did 3 different contrast ranges.
Right.
It wasn't like one range that was consistent.
Yeah.
Because they worked differently.
So that becomes a problem. So when you're painting and you're in the flow, unless you've learned how, I don't know, Cygor Brown actually behaves, and you realise, oh yeah, that's a 4:1 dilution before I go anywhere near a model.
Right.
Next thing you think, oh, I could just put that straight on. Oh no. Now I've got to do something. So you look at the P3 range, the usual suspects, the yellows, the oranges, they were all like slightly weaker. The coverage wasn't as great. You look at the stronger colours they had, the classic coal black, Men Off White base, so on and so forth. Those all performed at the level that we wanted to. So for me, it was a normalization of these are the gold standard. Bringing everything up. So the yellow, we worked really hard on the yellows. These need to have as much coverage as the darker colors. Now, there is a limit to how much you can push a yellow pigment, but we've got it as close as we can. So we haven't got complete parity, identical behaviors across the range, but they are all within a band that I am more comfortable with. So it would be very hard for you to pick up any paint and say, this is stronger or weaker in the range. They will all feel very similar. Unless you're painting hundreds of hours a week and you really kind of get to know it, every paint will behave pretty much identically throughout the range. Now, we then discovered that there was, half a dozen or a dozen new colours that had been developed but not actually released. So those got put into I think we put it on Kickstarter actually, but they got put into the project, but they're going to be on the racks as well. So yeah, it's super exciting.
How many colors is the full range?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I think it's 110, I want to say. There are the racks that we're working with have space for another 90 odd, so there's headroom for us to fill in some of the spaces.
Sure.
What I don't want to do is turn P3 into... For us, P3, the real advantage to us is P3 isn't our main business. So we can really, the company can allow me the luxury of really curating the range without the pressure of constantly adding new colours to keep the revenue going. I can really pick and choose the colours that I think would be harmonious with the existing range and fill in key gaps the kind of colours that you really need. And once we get to that point, you don't need any more. You do not need, no one needs 400 paints from a single range.
I agree.
Trust me, I own them.
I agree.
I have boxes full of them. Have I told you how I'm storing my paints now?
I'm assuming you have a rack at the house?
No, I have 9 litre really useful boxes, and I have a box for each colour type. So I have a big box of blues, big box of reds, big box of yellows. So I've got Scale 75, Leo, AKs, P3s in there. So all of my browns are all in one box.
Oh my god, that's going to make me itch. I can't.
But when you kind of sit down and come up with a paint, paint scheme, you're like, well, I fancy some blue, right? And you tip your blues out, and you go, oh, I quite like that blue. Will it go with the contrast colour I've picked? Yeah, that could work. Oh no, I need a little bit more of that. And you end up with this eclectic mix. I don't know. I
appreciate your particular way that you do that. We all have our own madness of how we come up with color schemes. That's hilarious. I love that you have
I just think it's madness to try and keep everything. It's OCD off the scale to try and keep everything all on the shelf, all the same brand together, all the same this, that, the other. I'm like, maybe it's not for me. I like just scooping everything into a bucket.
To be fair, most of mine is in. I have a couple of GW, the old pistol cases. So I have all my paint in there like that, and then I have 2 of the army painter, the racks that hold.
Oh, they're really. That was such
I have
a smart
those.
thing.
Those are super cool.
Yeah, really clever.
And now they sell it separate, so you can just buy another one. Yeah. Because people were like, how do we? It doesn't all fit in here. I'm like, if you buy 2 more, you can fit the whole range. The whole range fits in.
Well, almost by accident, not. That exact same rack, the P3 dropper bottles will fit in there as well.
Yeah. Anything that's the dropper bottle standard size should fit.
Pretty much, yeah.
For the most part. There are some companies that have slightly bigger, slightly weirder shapes, but
but I'm also working on
awesome.
so new ideas. And again, this is all really early stage R&D, but P3 has some really, really key colours that fans have fallen in love with. The classic is coal black.
Yep. Dave loves coal black.
Right. So with I think with the advancing technology for the rattle can, so you look at things like ColourForge and places like that are really pushing the quality bar up in that regard. I think that's an interesting avenue as well.
Do a couple of the
key colours, but what I don't want to do is ever try and just compete head to head, because I don't think that's sensible. What I want to do is curate a range of interesting shadow colours, because for me your rattle can should be your primary shadow colour, and this is the way I paint. I know a lot of people might go in and get a bright orange and then knock it back or shade it or put a dip on it. I paint from dark to light rather than from mid-tone up and down.
I always try to do that. The only time I don't is if I'm not able to.
Right.
Like if I'm like, oh, I'm painting blood angels, but I want them to be a little darker, I would spray them, Memphis red or pure red that Iron Painter has, and then I would hit the whole model with a wash or a tone to knock down, and I would dry brush and build it back up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't want to do that. I would much prefer to like paint the shadow and then paint over it.
Yeah.
Also, I think if you said you have like theoretically room for more paints, if excuse me, if you do a new faction or a new character, and you're like, oh, this really needs to be this color. We don't have that. You could be like, hey, here's this coming out. Here's those 3 new colors that we use for this model, kind of thing.
Yeah. There's also, and I guess this is the advantage of owning a toy soldier company is. If there's a color that I particularly want, then I can just get someone to make it for me now.
I'm waiting for like Mat Hart green. You're like, well, that's I needed that color.
More, and I'm not going to reveal which one it is, but there's definitely a paint in the range that was a mix that I've used on an army that I kept pre-mixed. Now I don't have to because now it's a natural color that I can use.
That's pretty great.
It's kind of cool.
But if
I want it, then I assume
it's your own toy store.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's cool if we all like it.
I think so.
Anything else you can think of that we should talk about or touch on?
Oh, dude, I could talk about paint forever. But other than I wish we were selling it here at AdeptiCon, we could have sold that paint rack 20 times through.
Oh, I saw people online and they'd be like, and then Toby or Chad was like, oh, those, I'm sorry, those aren't for sale.
Yeah, they just
put it back.
Tease you, unfortunately. But yeah, so that sooner the retail release can happen, the better. I'm quite friendly with John Ninas. He runs the Ninjon YouTube channel, and he and I often sort of chat about paint. As you can imagine, there's like little painter WhatsApp groups all over the place.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, you get to hang out and just chat paint with people. So we were helping him out with his painting classes he was doing here, so made sure that he had a whole pile of P3 because he was teaching wet blending, and why not use the very best paint for wet blending.
Nice.
So he was saying that, and I think there was like 20 odd people in each of his classes, like every single person would have come up and bought the full range if you'd had it here. And it's like,
oh, for sure. I mean, you could see the interest. Like, I think because of the love in that hobby, with everything, War Machine, Hordes, and Iron Kingdoms, and P3, like there's a very serious sort of group of folks who are like, well, that's my thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's GW or whatever, like everyone has their favorite thing, or even one of their favorite things.
Yeah.
So when you guys kind of were able to resurrect that and show everything and have everything all it's like seeing an old car. You're like, oh, I really like the car, but it's been out in the rain forever and it's really messed up. And then you come here and you're like, well, don't worry, Mat Hart's garage is gonna fix it up. And you show up and it's all, that glossy, like it's on the round table, and it's all, looks like it's at a car show, it's all waxed up, and you're like, oh, my car. Like, that's literally what you've done with the line, and I think that everybody sees that. So, the sky's the limit for you guys. I think Steamforged is set up.
Got real high hopes for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
And look, sadly Dave's not here, but if you were, then I'd love to pick his brains about what colours he think would make sense. But if your audience, the people watching this, want to put in the comments or something, ideas for colours that they think would go really well.
I'm waiting for that striped paint. When I just put it on, the stripes just show up. That'd be great.
Oh, did you see what Goobertown were doing?
Yeah.
I've got one of those. That's pretty bad.
The little nail thing you're talking about? Yeah, those are amazing.
Yeah.
That's another show. We'll talk about that.
That is another show, but that's definitely something worth checking
Unless
out.
you guys are going to acquire them, and then we can...
We're definitely going to work with them on some ideas, but one step at a time. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I like to dance with someone first.
I appreciate that. Huge thanks to Matt and the team at Steamforged. Thank you so much for doing this, man. I really
no worries, dude. Yeah, anytime. Love it.
Enjoy the show.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're back.
And yes, cool, awesome.
So the comment, so I hated the old P3 pots. I think they're some of my least favorite pots.
I'm okay with them, I got to admit, but I'm also fine with them changing to the dropper bottles. So those P3 pots are way better than the GW current pots. So there's that. But no, cool. So yeah, I think that was another great sort of run there. I'm pretty sure now, Scott made a great point where it's like if you were interviewing somebody about a topic that you really love, 15 minutes is not going to be enough. probably what I should have explained was like we're doing rather than 2 half-hour segments.
Yeah, I could have done 4 15s.
4 15s or like 3 20s or something like that. But that's just something we're learning. It's something we're learning as we go. Maybe we'll do those 15s and it won't work out. Who knows? We'll see.
Matt, to your question, I think the original ones. The original ones, is it a powder pigment? The originals?
I have no idea on that. I couldn't speak to that.
I know that we talked a little bit off camera about like the changes and like he mentioned it a little bit on the interview. He talked about how a lot of the technology is just come so far that when they looked at the original P3 paint, the factory that's making the paint was like, we don't make paint like this anymore. Like they were like, there's the technology is so much better now. So I know that they've changed sort of like you talked about, the pigment got bumped up, but the big thing was bringing some of the weaker colors in line, so that they perform more kind of like more generally across the range, instead of having like some colors that are great and some colors that they're okay, and then some colors that don't cover very well. Now it's like there's kind of a consistent, at least there's a consistent like band of performance that you can expect. Everything's going to be in this band somewhere. And the biggest thing that I think most painters will notice is that they've tightened up that band. So there's a much more consistent performance across the range. The colors that you used to be like, well, I'm not going to use that color, it doesn't work very well, those now work well. Him talking about the wet blending and feathering kind of falling out of fashion. He means in terms of like when you see professional companies present their miniatures now, like back in the day, whenever War Machine stuff would get rolled out, there's a very specific style that things got painted in. Even if you go back, you look at Games Workshop models from 15 years ago, when they released them, the painting, the standards are the same, but like a lot of the stylistic stuff that they used to do has kind of changed.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Excellent. Well, I think that worked out. Great.
Yeah, it was a good time. There's definitely stuff we got to change. Like we were actually in a relatively quiet spot. Dave, that was upstairs where the
that was on the 4th floor.
Yeah. And there was nobody in the hall playing, but there were people coming in and out, and it wasn't too bad. Like there was a little bit of background noise, but we wanted to be somewhere that was open, and then basically opposite us, it's that big window, so we had lots of natural light.
Yeah.
It was a little flat because it was like rainy that day, but it was still pretty well lit. So we wanted to make sure that we had someplace that would, kind of translate well for that kind of interview. But no, it was awesome. Like talking to him was great. And then, again, the range itself, there were so many people that came to their booth and they were like, ooh, like picking paints off the rack, like, and then walking up and they'd be like, oh, sorry, those aren't for sale. And they'd be like, oh, and people would look all bummed out. And they'd be like, oh, we'll take care. We'll put it back. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be really excited to see this range hit. I think the big, like we've talked about this before. We had that episode where we talked about like the 18 different ranges that we all use, plus a bunch of other ones that are out there. And there were 2 new ones that I saw at AdeptiCon. And I think the biggest thing that I think P3 does is they're adding specific colors that other ranges don't have. You know what I mean? Like I don't know that I would ever be like, I'm going to buy every paint in X range, but there's definitely colors in every range that I'm like, well, I'm going to buy that color and I'm going to buy that color and I'm going to buy that color. And I think Matt gets that. Like he said, like they're not a paint company. They're not looking to like jump into the paint market and like, be the next 800-pound gorilla. I just think that they're trying to cater to their fan base, and specifically the fan base of War Machine and Hordes, who want specific colors that match their army. And then have a couple colors like I mentioned on the interview that you like coal black, because it's a very distinct color. It's not black. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's it's like a sort of a bluish green gray.
Yeah,
is really what it is.
It mixes really well. It like becomes very vibrant when it's mixed with white.
Yeah, whereas
a lot of the like dark blue, green grays, when you mix them with white, they just muddy out.
Yeah, or they get like super flat, which you don't want.
Yeah. But no, that's cool. Okay, well, we're running pretty late, and we've still got minis to look at. So,
okay,
just quickly, I'm going to announce the winners.
Ooh, okay.
The winners of the Army Painter historical paint sets. are, drum roll please.
Ooh.
Okay, first up is Alan Borthwick.
Ooh, okay.
Alan Borthwick wins a set, and his historical point was in World War II, 9 Victoria Crosses were awarded to Kiwis. So not Kiwis the bird, but Kiwis the people.
Yeah, people from New Zealand. I got you.
From New Zealand, and 2 of those were awarded to Charles Upham. So you should go and check out Charles Upham and find out why he won 2 Victoria Crosses in World War II.
Well done.
Second prize goes to Josh Potter. So Josh Potter, his historical point was about the SAS Long Range Desert Patrol Group, who, so the story goes, sometimes painted their vehicles a particular shade of pink.
Okay.
That kind of matched the desert sunsets. So I'm not 100% sure if that is completely true. I know that there's a camo scheme, British camo scheme called the Caunter color scheme, which some folks paint with a particular pink as part of that. But the actual color that was used in the Caunter scheme was like a pale blue. And I think in some instances it may have looked pink. But he did want to point out that paints in bright, harsh sunlight, like in the desert, can end up looking a little bit different. So congratulations, Josh. So Alan and Josh, and third winner is Dave Hummel. He said that on his point was on a carrier, like a aircraft carrier, it's not called a conning tower. The conning tower is on a submarine.
Oh yeah, it's it's an island.
It's called an island. Yep, which contains the bridge, the flag bridge, and the flight control deck. Yep. So there we go. So thank you very much to those 3 folks. So Alan, Josh, and Dave, you'll need to get in touch with us so we can work out which of those sets that we will be sending you. So we have the American, the German, and the British set. So cool.
Well done.
Excellent. Congratulations. And moving it right along, the photos from the Facebook group.
What do we got?
Just before I do that, I will say in the video, Jake mentioned that there will be a link to the AdeptiCon keynote in the notes below. That was,
it sounded great at the time.
It did. It sounded perfect. It sounded super professional. Jake didn't let me know that it was there, and I also didn't watch the whole video beforehand, which I probably should have done. So I have not put it in there, but I will put it in after the show. You'll get to see it.
The key, and I would recommend anybody who's a fan of War Machine should absolutely watch it. Like, the keynote is great. They showed off so much new stuff. They talked about their timeline, all the new factions that they're working on for the next little bit. And I believe they showed off pictures of the Gravediggers, which is the faction that I'm going to be getting. I can't wait to do that,
super excited about. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So let's have a quick run through these. We've got quite a few, so we'll get stuck in.
Some Talarn. I'm loving this.
Yeah. So these are from Victoria Miniatures. These are the Victoria Miniatures Desert Scorpions, I think. Nice. But yeah, Amos has done a great job on these. I love that sort of that pale olive green.
Yeah.
Looks really, really good there. Very nice set.
This plasma gun looks good too. I love the 2-man missile team.
Oh. Cool.
Sorry, Amos cleaned up. I saw all the photos that he posted. Yes. He cleaned up at this thing.
Dave just messaged me and said, whichever the other 2 don't take, I will take the third one.
Nice.
So there we go. You guys, Alan and Josh have to make a decision. So fantastic. Yeah, Amos, we showed this Great Unclean one last week. He took it to the Battle to End Alzheimer's, entered in the Purple Palette competition, and won gold in the standard level. And also his Qua. Fantastic Qua, won gold in the standard level for squad, and also best in standard. So,
this is amazing.
Yeah. It's absolutely fantastic. So congratulations, Amos.
Well done.
Looking super cool. Next up, Brendan Bell posted these. So these are some conversions he did a little while ago.
Yeah, these are great. Like, so he said he did these a couple years ago. So obviously he did them before a lot of them were out. So in the back, that's Beast. Although I think he's using him as Dark Beast, but that's an actual Beast model.
Yep.
Spiral does not exist in the game. So that's Spiral's the woman on the left with all the arms. That's Spiral.
Oh, this is Spiral?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what that's converted from. I don't know what model that was. Storm on the right with the Mohawk. Storm is converted from Captain Marvel.
Okay.
I believe Havoc. I don't know. Havoc might be converted from Cyclops. Havoc's on the far right in the black.
Right.
And that's in the front. That's Mystique. Or no, that's Mystique. That's Destiny.
Destiny.
Destiny is probably converted from either, I would guess, either Scarlet Witch or the White Queen.
I'm gonna say
Emma Frost.
Witch,
yeah. There's some great stuff. Like I think that's supposed to be Avalanche in the back. The guy with the yellow and the silver.
Okay. Yep.
Or it could be Pyro. I thought it was Avalanche, but it could be Pyro. And then that's Rogue in the green and the white. I don't know who she's converted from. But yeah, these are great. Like at this point, 1, 2. I don't know if these other models exist yet. I don't think that they do. So, Colossus has a new model.
Yep.
Beast has a model. Rogue has a model. But the rest of them don't yet. So these are super cool. Yeah, I think it's Avalanche, but these are great. These are super cool.
Nice work, Brendan. They look very cool. And Jake also gets to educate me in comic book characters. Excellent.
The Spiral is phenomenal. That must have been a pain in the butt too. She has 6 arms.
Nice. Well, speaking of MCP, Chris Gawker painted up some terrain.
Yeah, this is awesome.
So it's very cool. Sentinel crushed through the rocks on quick change.
Very nice.
And I love the work that Chris did on the sort of the reverse side of these two pieces that he did. Cool.
Kill the mutants.
Yeah, Kill the muties, and we sold Coca-Cola.
I love the I love the Captain America poster. That's great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Very nice.
Yeah, looking very cool.
I like it.
Nice work, Chris.
Yeah, good terrain. Good terrain always makes a huge difference.
It does. Nice one. Dave Hummel. Dave Hummel's set up a spray booth there.
Nice.
You got little extractor fans. You can see the extracted pipes going up behind it there. But yeah, do some airbrushing in. And we started some airbrushing work on his terrain that we've been that was been together the last couple of weeks. So looking very cool. Nice work, Dave. Looking good. Greg Rothhauser.
For his revilers, these guys look so good.
They do look good. And he was saying in the post, these are the last infantry models that he took to Sweden with him. He's there on a business trip. The last model that he's got to paint is a repulsor, I think.
Love that tank.
We're going to be working on that as his last model while he's in Sweden. But yeah, they look great.
These guys, they look like astronauts.
Yeah, they do.
They're so bulky. Like they literally look like a bunch of like NASA astronauts.
Yeah,
with guns.
I do love the faceplate that you can get for. Well, you get like one of those in the set.
Oh yeah, the deployed. That's like the orbital insertion visor.
Yeah. That looks great. Nice work, Greg.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Cool. Sue Lynn posted a pic here of some fantastic Bretonian shields that he's been working on for a
these are amazing.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they?
Very, very nice. The checkerboard and the dags on the unicorn and the dragon are like, I was like, right. They look amazing. And as soon as I started, I was like, I'm not doing this. Like,
absolutely. And one of the things that he's done as well, that I'm a big fan of, is he's kept to one of the key historical heraldic rules, which is metals on colors, colors on metals. Because sometimes you'll find, like, sometimes people will put yellow over white, or like a yellow icon or symbol sigil over a white background, or like it might be half and half, or it might be red on black.
Yep.
So having this here where the sigils are all in, they're all the metals, silver, like the white and yellow, silver and gold on color backgrounds. So from that point of view, I'm certainly appreciative of it.
No, and then the top right, he has red over silver and gold. So
yeah, so that works.
Very cool.
So fantastic work there, Sulin. Thanks for sharing. Jason Dyer hasn't got back to painting yet after AdeptiCon, but he's been putting together his racks. And he said he picked up these on a Kickstarter at some point.
Nice.
But, got a whole bunch of paint going on there. It was kind of funny when we were talking when you were talking with Mat Hart about his. Well, I have this like bucket full of browns and a bucket full of yellows, and it's like that's way more organized than I am.
Yeah, so he was telling me he basically has 9. So he has one for each color, and then I think he has one that's like metallics, and then he has one that's like washes and stuff.
Right. I think it's fantastic. Love it. But yeah, this is Jeff's Space Wolf. This is this is the Space Wolf model that Games Workshop gave away at the reveal.
Yeah, this is the limited guy. This model is awesome. Like, and this is Jeff is back in his glory here, like being able to paint a Space Wolf. He did what is that? We were talking on they were talking on their show about how he doesn't. Everybody always does Ragnar's company, you know, the yellow with the black wolf head. Yeah, and he did. I think that's.
Oh, I can't remember.
That's Harold. Is it Harold Deathwolf?
Right, I'm not sure.
But yeah, like
it's the black wolf with the
the star in its mouth. Yeah, it's But yeah, he likes doing the red. He thinks the red's a little punchier because there's always so much yellow on the model, anyways.
Sure.
But yeah, this guy looks great. He's got the pack marking on like the backpack, and the dags on the sword are perfect.
Yeah. Excellent work there, Jeff.
Like, Jeff, you should enter this at like Nova. This is phenomenal.
That's cool. Very nice. And Jeff, this is a finished shot of his.
This is his second finished rear.
Second finished. Right. Nice. But yeah.
So good.
Definitely looks great. Nice work, Jeff. Very cool. Josh Potter. Josh picked up this from the folks at Badger Games. I'm not sure if you got it directly from either Andy Hobday or Paul Hicks, but it's basically a limited edition model that they did for the Barons War. But
this is so good.
Into sort of Warhost, the fantasy game.
Like that just looks like a Grenadier Knight from,
sure,
years ago. It's amazing.
But he said he sort of did it as an anti paladin.
Okay, nice.
Anti-hero or anti-cleric kind of thing. I think it was anti-cleric, he said. But yeah, black and purple rather than sort of white and red or white and gold.
Very cool. And he has the cross inverted.
Right.
So on the shield and on his tabard, it's inverted.
Yep. Excellent.
Very nice.
No, very cool. Nice work, Josh.
Yeah, awesome. That's great.
Justin McCoy has done a little bit more work on his truck stop.
Yeah, he finished the gas pumps. He's got the guy in there for size comparison.
Well, he's going to have some models in there.
Yeah,
some actual figures. But he's getting something out of the tropical or the topical.
It's tropical.
Fun.
It's tropical.
Tropical and topical. I think the R's been scratched out. But yeah, just looking great there. Very nice.
I
And
think it's
yeah,
awesome.
tied those fuel pumps back into the rest of the ship really nicely. Looking great. Nice work, Justin. Excellent. Kelly?
Little Dragonborn fighter.
Yep. Looks very sweet.
Very nice.
One of the sort of the highlights and shading on the red armor.
I really like the reptile patterning on the tail.
Yeah, that
Like
looks
the
great.
green diamonds down the back.
Yeah, looking really nice.
Very cool.
Beautiful work. One of the things that I discovered with Facebook is that even though I'd looked through the community page a number of times to make sure I got all the images, it didn't show me this post. This post is from just before last week's show.
Okay.
And Sue Lynn's post with the Bretonian shields, it wasn't showing me that post either. But thankfully, I spotted that in the recent photos. It was like, oh, I haven't seen that photo yet. Click, check out the post.
I don't know if Kelly's on here. They want to know where's this from?
Oh, I'm not sure. Not sure where this model's from. But yeah, if you check out Alan, if you check out in the BuildPaintPlay community page on Facebook in that group.
Oh yeah, just
if you can't remember that, just hit join and we'll let you in. It might be on Kelly's post.
Also, if it's not, just message Kelly on his post. I'm sure he'd be happy to tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that could be Cal. It could be that reason. So it just means that each week I'm going to have to go through that photos section as well to make sure I get everybody. But next up we had Ken Hartnett.
Nice. Doing some Kroot.
Yeah. I think he said these were the first models that he bought for the Kroot were the first models he bought for his Tau army, but they also happen to be the last ones that he's painting. So.
Well, he's like in my Tau army, it's mostly Kroot with a little bit of Tau. His Tau army is mostly Tau, a little bit of Kroot. Like he got them because he bought the starter, the new army box that was all Kroot.
Yeah.
But he wanted it for the codex and all that stuff, and he was going to add them, but he wanted it so he could add to his Tau.
Yeah.
So
nice. But yeah, looking good there. Good work, Ken. Christian
nice.
Today. So this is a new squad that he's just painted up recently.
Yeah, this is the new that's the Mark III command squad.
Yeah. And spectacular work there, particularly on that banner.
Yeah, that banner is amazing.
Yeah.
Again, I love his background terrain always makes it too. Like there's the defaced Imperial Eagle with the Eye of Horus spray painted on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
His power swords look great.
Yeah. Excellent work, Christian.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Great stuff.
That banner is amazing.
And like most of these posts, there are also some more photos on the Facebook group you can go and check out. But yeah, definitely great. Nice stuff. Luis, here we go. This is the finished off his librarian.
Yep.
And it looks awesome, that Phobos armored librarian.
He did the dagged camo also, like the triangle shapes. I love it.
That sort of deep grayish green, the blue gray, and the black.
Yeah, they look awesome.
Some use there. And I remember him saying, I think he said last week that he went into the store and took a bunch of photos on terrain.
Yeah.
Or might have been part of the post, but yeah, it's always fun when you can get them out on a table and do some stuff. And here's a shot of that combat patrol.
Dude, that combat patrol is so good.
Yeah. But yeah, beautiful work there, Luis. I think it's been a lot of fun watching you work on it over the last couple of months.
The Phobos Lieutenant is one of my favorite models in the range. The guy with the knife.
Right.
He has his visor up and he has like 2 combat knives on his waist. Like he's like, this is my killing knife and like this is my stabbing knife. I try not to
trying to mix them up.
Yeah.
Stab you with this first, fix you in place, and then
yeah. He's like, and then I kill you with the other knife.
Yeah. But no, it looks fantastic. Great work.
He's like, this is for killing heretics. This is for killing Xenos.
And next up, he's just going to be working on this guy.
Yeah, was it Uftak Blackhawk?
I want to say Blackhawk, but that doesn't sound quite right. Might be Blacktooth.
Yeah, that might be right.
But yeah, so this will be cool. Look forward to seeing this come along.
Yeah, he's super. I love that he has like a pintle mounted weapon on a squig.
Yeah, for sure.
That's insane.
As everybody knows, squigs are the most stable of platforms.
Yeah, I mean, it's strictly speaking, it's a technical. So
right. Fantastic. But yeah, nice one, Luis. We look forward to checking that out.
He's great.
Excellent. Mick Palazzi dug out some of my old history.
Yeah, I saw this. This is great.
So yeah, this is the in Australia and I think in the UK we used to do these booklets for Games Day. So everybody who, as you walk through the door, you got this booklet, and so you could take a quick look and see what was all around the show. As you can see, this is from 2001. It was at Fox Studios Australia in Moore Park, Sydney. And the Horden Pavilion was a what do you call it? A music venue. So this was the second year that we were there.
That Orc Mountain is awesome.
Metal. Yep. On the left there is Fortis Binary. So that's a table where I built the table. It was like 16 by 4. It was all trench line and craters and all sorts of stuff. And I painted both forces on each side. So it's about 550 models.
Dude, you're a maniac. It says from the opening chapters of Dan Adams' fantastic novel, First and Only, comes the harsh battle across the wastes of Fortis Binary Forge World. Once again, Dave Taylor provides the armies of the big battle. As Commissar Gaunt leads his 10th Regiment across a deadly table into the teeth of the foul Chaos Beasts, supported by the Vitrian Dragoons and the Jantine Patricians, Gaunt and his ghosts have their work cut out for them. Like, that's phenomenal, Dave.
And Mick was asking if I built the fort, but no, it was Matt Weaver built the that cool big mountain
Duff Fort.
And the sort of the table that went out in front of it. I painted the Empire Army that you could use on that day. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Matt Weaver was the big was the guy behind this mountain, which is spectacular. Also, Glenn Lamprecht won the Slayer Sword in 2000, so we had his picture in there. So he was a guest judge for Golden Demon 2001. And this was the fun part here. We were swamped by almost 1,000 entries for last year's Golden Demon. It's like, that's amazing. 1,000 entries.
That's really good.
It was, yeah, spectacular. I think we probably had 2,500 people at the event. 1,000 entries, which is pretty amazing.
Was Andy Chambers there?
Yeah, Andy Chambers was at Games Day 2001 in Australia.
That's pretty cool.
Which was fantastic. So there we go. That's Matt Weaver is a great artist, and he did these sort of inquisitorial sketches. So this is Matt as Confessor Matt Weaver, and Taro is another guy that I worked with. Servitor Taro Kenko.
Very cool.
I got to hang out with both these guys when I was back in Australia in January. At Taro's the head brewer at a microbrewery in Sydney.
Nice.
So that was cool. But yeah, awesome stuff. Brought back a lot of memories. Thanks very much, Mick. Appreciate it. But moving right along, Richard.
Who's this? Dave, who's this?
Pardon?
Who's this?
It's what's the name? Oh, I can't remember his name. I'll get it in a second. Michael Rooker.
On the right, yeah.
On the right
that's Yondu.
And it's is it Nick Cage on the left?
Technically, it's not, because it's a different Ghost Rider.
It's different Ghost Rider.
That's Cosmic Ghost Rider, which is a different hero.
Okay, my bad. Yes, Matt Balls it is Mary Poppins. Oh, Mick, I will have to track it down and send you a note. But it is near Sydenham. But yeah, Richard's done a great job here. He said that after getting whooped at an event, he painted these up to take to his next revenge match.
Nice.
But they do look great.
Those are super
I love
cool.
that Yondu model is just fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's super cool. Great stuff. Next up, so Stephen Ryder. Hi, Steve. Hopefully you're home by now.
Old school bats.
Old school bats. Yeah, these are plastic bats from Warhammer Quest, I think.
Yep.
He's adding these to his army, I think, for Hobgoblin. But yeah, they look very cool. Basing looks great. Nice work. And also, this great frog.
So he said this is like a carved wooden frog.
Okay. I wonder who carved it. Did he say that?
He did not.
I know, but it looks cool. I think the paint job we've done on it, Steve, looks very cool.
Yeah, the colors are great.
Yeah.
The shadows and the green on the back are awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Very nice. That looks great. I love those eyes, though.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're painted or if they're sort of glued on afterwards.
I could not tell you.
But they look great. Nice work, Steve. Very cool. And I think that might be the last photo that we've got for tonight.
Right.
Things have been pretty quiet. So next week. So this is our new thumbnail. Our new thumbnail has the Army Painter team down here. So,
nice.
You know, they were part of that. But the art of. So I'll be doing some interviews this week with, as I said, with Vince, with Tim and Natalia. So we'll get to check those out next Tuesday.
Okay.
Which will be launch day for the Kickstarter. Again, link to the notification page is down below. So should be good.
All right. Everybody, make sure you guys like and subscribe and do all the stuff. You know, share this thing, hit the notifications, have your friends do it, tell everybody you know.
Share it around.
Yeah, share it around. Spread it around.
So hang on a second. I'm going to stop sharing that before we go, just because we have it and I want to show it again.
Oh.
Hold on. Where do you think you're going? Yeah, I thought we could come in if that's okay.
I don't know if I have you on my list. What's your name?
Dave.
Dave. No Daves.
Jake.
Jake? Nope. No Jake.
Dave Taylor. Jake Krajewski. Oz.
Jake. I got a Chris Peach, Don Serratos. I've got Mentor's Miniatures. No Dave and Jake.
How about BuildPaintPlay?
Oh, BuildPaintPlay? Oh yeah, come on in.
Man, I didn't realize Phil was so tall. What are you talking about?
The Army Painter Factory team just got more factory. That's right, we're recruiting people of all shapes and sizes, no matter how big, how small, how tall, or short. Join us in welcoming Oz and Dave Taylor from the Build, Paint, Play podcast.
That's such a great, like, a top and bottom of you and I being really animated talking about stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure that Adam was talking about me when he said short, but I don't know. I'll check with him.
You're not. It's not like you're short though.
It's true. It's just next to you. But no, super excited by that. But yeah, I think are we done? Are we good?
Yeah, I think it's all we got. You know, obviously, huge thanks to the Army Painter. It's really cool that we're part of the team now. I'm pretty psyched about that. Oh, Alan, just in time for the sign off.
Nice work.
Alan, you can go back and watch the video if you want. We just just rewind literally like 2 minutes. You'll be able to see it. Patrick, it was awesome you were here, man. I have to reach out to you tomorrow so we can catch up with some other business that we talked about at AdeptiCon. But yeah, I think that's all we got, right, Dave? I don't have anything else.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Well, we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to post pictures of what you're working on, any painting projects, things like that. And if you guys have any other questions about the interview, like if I don't know it from Matt directly, I'm sure I can find out.
Just pop the questions in the in the comments below.
Yeah, put it down below.
It's posted in 5-10 minutes.
Okay. Everybody have a good week, and we will see you guys next time. And until then, do not forget to build, paint, play.
Shut up and sit down.